It's Lord, I wanna tell us that it's Lord, I'm gonna tell us that you're close to me. I cannot let you down. I cannot let you down. No one can shake my crown. You're good to me. Katina, you know I am proud of Katina, you when you don't step road, Katina, you don't know your family road, Katina, you oh yeah, oh yeah, so I'm in the shot, oh yeah, I'm rasta, oh yeah, let me put that you want, oh yeah, God is good, I wanna tell us God is good, let me tell us God is good to me, I cannot let you down, I cannot let you down, no one can shake my crown, God you're good to me. God is good, I want you to sing God is good, let me tell us God you're good to me, I cannot let you down, I cannot let you down, no one can shake my crown, God you're good to me. God good and grace, tell me wicked them straight. God good and grace, we still in the race. God good and grace, that will be the nigga will be in a space. Something about judgmental people. Then I kiss me right off like people. God is good, I wanna tell us God is good. Let me tell us God is good to me. I cannot let you down. I cannot let you down. No one can shake my crown. God, you're good to me. God is good. How are you singing? God is good. I'm in the God, you're good to me. I cannot let you down. I cannot let you down. No one can shake my crown. God, you're good to me.
Bless up, bless up, bless up, bless up, bless up. I look a bit late than what I would have liked, but I promised the item say I'm going to come on 8 o'clock and all the reasoning. So just forwarding, and I just want catch a vibe with the item. So give thanks to the people while I gone. Big up on yourself. For the past few weeks we've been speaking about pedophilia. And how to protect our children from predators. It has been met with a lot of mixed reactions. Some are very disappointing. But I think it is more important to create the awareness and to educate people than to worry about what people are saying in defense of pedophiles and the nonchalant approach to pedophilia in Jamaica. It's a major problem, and I think something must be done. Yeah, I think the sex registry should be amended to reflect pedophiles that are coming into the island from other countries, especially a certain type of or a certain level you know, of sexual offenses that these predators may have, you know, committed in other countries. I think it is something that the government should look into. I saw somebody in my, I think the person name was Oral, was saying it's against a person's um, it violates a person's rights if they should place a person coming in from another country on the sex registry in Jamaica. I I beg to differ. I beg to differ on that, and I think it can be done because Jamaica and the US and other countries, they have extradition treaty. So if them can have extradition treaty where them can send people from Jamaica to stand trial in other countries, then Jamaica, and that is something that the government of Jamaica should put on the table. If the government of Jamaica, if the government officials care about the children, especially the children. Because let me tell you all something, a lot of you take this thing for a joke and you think that coming after Mr. Vegas is going to fix the problem. That's not going to fix the problem, man. Even now as we speak, children are being molested. Right now as we speak, children are being molested. I know that school is not keeping. You know, a lot of children are home and people are around children that are home, you know, violating their rights. It's a message to be children, to have to enjoy their childhood. You understand? So I think it's not far-fetched, you know, for this to happen. Something must be done about this because a whole of deport are coming on the island and come out for sex crimes in foreign countries. You see me I say? A predator in America is a predator in Jamaica. A predator in England is a predator in Jamaica. Those people, they have sickness. You understand? There's some form of chemical imbalance going on in them system. Them attracted to children. That not change because you change your location. If you're attracted to children in America, why you think you're going to come to if a person is attracted to children in America, why that person is going to come to Jamaica? And suddenly that, oh, I find Jesus and I'm no longer attracted to children. If Jesus was a child, that person will take down Jesus and molest Jesus too. That is what we now understand. So I think all this needs is a vote or a bill. Understand? That's why they have government for write bills. Government officials write bills or lawmakers. You understand? And put it on the floor and vote for it. That is not against anyone's rights. If you don't want nobody violate your rights, just don't molest no children. Just don't molest nobody. Don't rape nobody. You see? I want to play this video with the sister. I don't watch her light still, but I think it's important. I want us to watch this video together. And I'm going to play another video with a woman way. So you can learn from it. And then we'll have a quick discussion about at what age a person is considered a pedophile in Jamaica. Case in point, can a 21-year-old, is a 21-year-old a pedophile if a 21-year-old has sex or sexual relations with a 14 or a 15-year-old or a 13-year-old? Because we have a culture where people normalize a 20-year-old or a 21, 25, 23, 24-year-old with a 14-year-old child. Understand? We have in our culture that is like the norm because many of our grandmas and mamas and all of them aunties, them get pregnant when they are 13. So we just normalize it because when you check mama's birth paper and you check daddy's birth paper, you realize that daddy, you know, got mama pregnant when she was 12 or 13. So you just normalize it and it just becomes the norm. You know, it just becomes the norm in our society. We just say, yo, a long time it go on, so we just make it continue. But there are consequences and there are, you know, effects from a child having, you know, a child a baby so early. Some women cannot get pregnant after the first pregnancy because it damages their womb. You understand? Or them ovaries or them cervix, all kind of things get damaged because they were babies. So I mean, so because your mama did get pregnant when she was 13, that means it right. Because your daddy was 25 and your mama was 13, or your grandma was 13 and your grandpa was 40. It don't mean it right. It just means that we're in a society where we normalize it and the government not do nothing about it. And people don't report it. And family members encouraged it. Family members, they actually support them things there. Oh, him have money. Oh, him a drive a car. Yeah, I don't know nothing. When me I go send him go jail for? Why am I gonna send him to jail? Who are gonna take care of the baby? That's one of the number one thing, you know. Why am I gonna send him to jail? Who's gonna take care of the baby? So a 40-year-old man can get a little 12-year-old, 13-year-old girl pregnant. And most of the times it cover up. Most of the times. Most of the times my body not say nothing about it. That's why you have people who come on the internet and say, me must mind my own business. Because that is the norm for people to mind their own business when it comes down to things like a child getting pregnant. It's not them say it takes a village to raise a child, but in this case, them don't need no village to get involved. Them just say, yo, mind your own business. You understand? So you have some big man in the communities, especially if them are done, or them have money, or them are the businessman, etc., etc. Them get little girls and pregnant, and the community or the family members them support it. Worse if all the auntie or the grandma can get an extra thing for chewing at the offering plate. Cause you have some man them know the style, you know. Them just make certain so them take care of grandma. A grandma favorite person that you know. Worse if the man are there with the mother. Cause you have some man them there with the mother first, you know. Some man with them do them target the mother first and them get the mother because the mother licky. And why she licky? Because fear mother did licky. And fear mother did licky. So it's a licky family. You see what I say? Especially in the garrison them, in the inner city them. Enough woman can, stay home and chat, and now we have social media, so enough woman rather stay on social media all day and comment and cuss and watch who them want to watch, and by a quint, night come down, them not do no work. Them not get nothing done. Them not have no jobs. So because them not have no work, them not have them no work no way. Them not have no job. So them a look for a handout, them a look for a man to mind them. Enough of these women them have them little daughters, or daughter, and sons too. And them know so them sons or them daughters are being molested, but them just say, you know what? I not say nobody go to prison, because me can't take care of the pitney. I mean, not gonna make nobody know say my son get molested. And me understand that because stigma I got dip on the son. So all the idiots them were talk about, oh, the 21-year-old man should have come talk. Why him not come talk? You expect a man to get molested and come talk? No man to get molested in a Jamaica and talk. And America this where they have gay rights and gay marriage and them something there. That not go on in our country. We don't know that too. That not go on in the most Caribbean countries. That is a taboo subject. So your argument about somebody to come talk if them they get molested, especially a boy. Females don't even want to talk because females don't want to go on trial again. Because them go through trial and tribulation to get molested, and then them go court, and the judge and the prosecutor put them under, and the defense, excuse me, put them on trial like a them did rape the person. Why you went over to the person's house? So it's another level of victimization. It's a whole another level of because society, our society, victimized victims all over again. Right now, when so much people up on the internet, I defend pedophilia. A lot of victims are like, yo, you know, crying out. People send me a message every day. Them, you understand? Them feel like, yo, why should I even say anything? They're not gonna believe me. You see? Okay, what the sister say?
I'm going to read that email for you. I got this email today. All right. The email says, see with me, guys, because this is something that irks me a lot, and it's something I'm very passionate about. All right. If I'm not reading the comments, just bear with me, guys. All right. So I'm gonna get an email today this morning. Person says, well done. I was molested growing up. To date, I don't think anyone believed me. Hope you guys are hearing me. My stepdad would enter my room at night. I started wearing multiple clothes to bed. My mom saw and asked why. Let me continue. And I told her I was cold. I think she knew. I wrote a letter and I put it in my clothes so the wash lady could find it. Let me continue. I was sent to live with my friend. And I told her I was cold. The letter was found. I think she knew. Everybody said. I wrote a letter. True. And I put it in my clothes. No one so the wash lady could find it. Let me continue. I was sent to live with my friend. This is why I don't like to talk about these things, you know, them something that hurt me, and I like me to think when I understand how them things that hurt me. So when you see when I see people come on social media and they make a light of it and they behave like when they want bully people and they want silence victims, I have a serious issue with that. Alright? The email says see with me, guys, because this is something that irks me a lot, and it's something I'm very passionate about. All right. If I'm not reading the comments, just bear with me, guys. All right. So I'm gonna get an email today this morning. Person says, well done. I was molested growing up. To date, I don't think anyone believed me. Hope you guys are hearing me. My stepdad would enter my room at night. I started wearing multiple clothes to bed. My mom saw and asked why. Let me continue. And I told her I was cold. I think she knew. I wrote a letter and I put it in my clothes so the wash lady could find it. I was sent to live with my grand after the letter was found. Everybody said it wasn't true. No one talked about it. No one dealt with it. I'm 35 years old. This is why I don't like to talk about these things, you know, them something that hurt me, and I like me to think when I understand how them things that hurt me. So when I see people come on social media and they make a light of it and they behave like when they want bully people and they want silence victims, I have a serious issue with that. But let me continue. Lady says, I'm 35 years old. I suffer from PTSD. I am manic depressive. I have anxiety. I'm also on medication for my heart because my anxiety is so bad, my heart doesn't beat right. Jamaica needs to address child molesting. Jamaica needs to address mental health. Thank you for using your platform to make a difference. No. This is one of millions. Mena ask. A lot of people want to come forward and want to talk, but they can't talk because they're afraid. Why they're afraid? Because they're afraid of the enablers and the supporters and the people that will cover for the predator them. More women will come out than men. The men them never come out. I don't know this and I don't know why. Now, for people who don't know me, let me just do a quick reintroduction. My name is Trudy Bell. I'm a storyteller. I write, I produce, and I present stories. Many of the stories that I present address topical issues, social issues, issues that we need to face forward with. I will come and I will make on a life because personally, I love positive energy. I love good vibe. I love when people just happy. I like happy people around me. I like happy spirits. Which is why most of the times I try to keep my page light, because sometimes I feel like my page is an escape for people that are going through trauma. I don't like fake people. I don't like hypocrites. I don't like bullies. And over the past few days, I'm not gonna be honest with you, I wasn't gonna address this, you know. When this whole thing bust out, I don't know what me I talk about. When I see everything I bust out, you know, I say, because who follow me know say me I work on a like a series and thing. And I say, you know, say I don't want to address this. I don't think I was being selfish. I don't want to address this. I have a series I go on, I don't want a distraction. I'm saying, I'm dip my mouth tonight. I'm say nothing. But the thing that irked me was how some of the people them is like one of the former gang, the silent people. Una former gang to shut down people that are trying to stamp out this kind of nonsense that is happening in the community. Let me tell you something. And everybody in the carelessness, and everybody gonna stand up and watch it happen. Some of we are gonna open up their mouths, and we are gonna shame on them, and we are gonna disgrace them because of the need for shame and disgrace. But there is a disgrace. Now, I don't know if I now watch what has been happening in recent times, especially during the pandemic. And I'm not the only person that's gonna speak. I'm gonna have someone or some persons joining a little later, you know, different agencies, you know, to just share information about where you can get help and what these agencies are doing to help out.
We're there, man. We're there.
We just have a whole bunch of things
Vegas and doing something. What's the take
if
on
you're watching
situation?
the news, guys, and if you're observing what has been happening since the pandemic, there has been a significant increase of sexual abuse against children.
I can't call him Batman now.
Because guess what? People them can't go to school no more. Some of the time, the break what the people them get from the abuse is when them go to school. Some of the time them no want to go to them yard because them know so when them come go to them yard, them know what time it is. And since the pandemic, many children have been home with their predators. Not for the picnic them, where I turn up at the hospital, I turn up with trauma upon them private parts. Them bust up front and back. This is not a joke issue. Now I am trying to figure out how did we get to this place where we have become so cold and so callous that we are willing to just take the little pity them and fling them under the bus and we never use let he that is without sin cast the first stone. What? Everybody have sin, but everybody they are jail now. Everybody in their prison. We can't use that to justify violence and criminal acts against children. The disappoint.
Yeah, I think I lost the but you hear the audio, right? Yeah, I lost her or the images. So I think you get when we did that try present. But she said something.
We can't use that to justify violence and criminal acts against children. The disappoint.
She said something important. Right? She said something important, and I really want.
But she said something. We can't use that to justify violence and criminal acts against children. The disappoint. She said something important.
Where is that audio? Damn.
Right? She said something important, and I really want. But she said something. We can't use that to justify violence and criminal acts against children. The disappoint. She said something important. Where is that audio?
Why am I looping?
Right?
Why am I looping? Why am I looping? Why am I looping? Why am I looping? Now you hear me? Alright, so she basically was talking about a female that nobody believed was actually what was happening to her. I'm gonna play something else for you. Yeah? I want you to listen to this. Let me know if you can hear this. Let me know if you can hear this, yeah? I need you to listen to this carefully. This is what you're talking about. Listen to this.
Somebody else a call you. Yeah, caller, you online. What's up?
What's up?
Me there, man. We there talk about Vegas and the whole Mr. Ann something. What's your take on the situation?
Talking about Vegas, Batman, Vegas need to leave Mr. Handsome alone.
So what make you call him Batman now? What him do?
Because he's a Batman. If a man can post up pictures like all the handsome picture them, where me post up Mr. Handsome behind for? The Batman in big. I want Mr. Handsome behind.
Man.
Batman in big, all dirty Batman, Deadwood, Vegas are whole name.
The man.
You know, so that's when baby mother he come in concern, man, I walk in baby mother right in bed.
Oh. But him say him fight against the pedophile them and protect the kids them. And that him say him do.
He have proof for it. He post whatever for New York. He have proof in Jamaica, so the man a trouble picnic.
And that me I say too, me not see no proof come out as yet, so that alright. Yeah, me not see no proof.
He look like in trouble at picnic for Vegas, me.
Yeah, me just lose it, but you come back now.
He coming like I want Mr. Handsome. Or something deeper than that about child molester. He said the man trouble picking in Jamaica, I have proof for it. When he come with the proof, then I will talk about it. But I don't see any proof. I don't see Mr. Handsome a trouble any kids. All I see is the man help people in Jamaica.
True. That me see too. But if you talk after what me say.
All I see is the man helping people in Jamaica and helping sick sister. Vegas don't go on Mr. Handsome viewers and a look star in damn head flat like I hate the man, you see.
So you hate the man so far, where man there?
I hate the boy, you see. He make Facebook block me 2 times now because me have cuss him pandey.
Oh, that's how you vex with him, yeah, that is. And that's why you come here and call and a cuss him man, so through Facebook block you.
Yes, Facebook cut black me. Dr. Vegas, he don't have any more topic to talk about. Look how much woman head chop off down there. Why not talk about that? Look how much picking they get raped by other men down there. Why don't he talk about that? And come on for Mr. Handsome. Mr. Handsome, big head, what do you want? Talking to him. Can't stand him. Sure you don't know him. Sure. Sorry to your viewers, them, yeah?
Yeah, man, them understand.
Words, them.
I hope the man black and your name good, yeah, man. So we're not there. We don't pick side or bash nobody, man. Because
he report my comment to Facebook.
Oh, you must have said something really bad then, man, for Facebook block you. Sorry about that.
Yeah, I tell him, say, some just like when I tell him, no on the phone, that's what I said to him on his page. So that's why he reported and it said hate speech. And Facebook blocked me for 7 days.
7 days. Oh, you say you can't get for trouble him again. You bunny. Big up Mr. Vegas, man. Big him up, big him up, big him up. He's a guy when I listening to music, I not lie. When you come on to 90s dancehall, he's one of the artists then when me put in and listening to music. But I don't know why he change and just gone to this blogging thing and take up people problem and them something them. I don't know. But he's an artist I'm rate, so.
Mr. Handsome, I'm mad him. That's why Mr. Handsome, I'm mad him. Look at Mr. Handsome do something to him, make him a go on. So Mr. Handsome, he just screw somebody for him. I wonder if I ever Mr. Handsome in call catching him there. Because I don't know I hate him so.
Oh God, I say I wonder if Mr. Handsome in catching him there. I don't think so, man. Handsome today at Jamaica when that happened. You know, you see, I know.
Jesus Christ. No, sir.
We watch tomorrow and say if he might do no more live or Mr. Handsome or if he might go post something else or, you know. Let's hope. We want it just done still.
Tonight. I hope he posts it and I hope he sends some money to Jamaica go buy some bit for the hospital them down there.
Yeah.
This corona people them.
Yeah.
Get figure up and pay that thing to do.
True.
Take him platform and do something
positive
with it and come out for the negativity about Mr. Handsome. And so Mr. Handsome important to him.
And your man name Mr. Handsome, what you expect?
Leave the man alone now, man. You must can't find something else to talk about. There's a lot of constructive things that need to be done in Jamaica.
True.
You know, I never see Vegas do nothing for nobody yet. And I see Handsome walk up and down and I do things to people like give people things.
That's true, man.
He might talk about him a big money for buy little boy party or something. And this little boy party shop Handsome page. It's too wicked if you stop it. Yes, if you stop it.
For real.
If you stop now, man, it's boring now. It's boring.
Boring, yeah. Well, these two shall pass, so I hope it just pass and we just move on and, you know, if Handsome do if he might mess around look up it me, if he pay the penalty fee. You understand? But until we have proof, yeah, that's what I debate pan. If I get proof, I just me change the narrative and say, yo, the man, you know, I'm not pick the side, I make this clear. I'm not pick the side.
As far as I'm concerned, everybody have a pass.
Right.
Right now, only for people still are living in their past because they don't change. Alright,
I'm not pick the side for Handsome, I'm not pick the side for Vegas, but mutual. So I don't want nobody come over here and say, one day man buy your seat and talk like listen, me mutual.
Well right now me a pick side, me the for Handsome side. The time he can't prove,
yeah.
But we lick out for Handsome.
Right. Yeah, man, if somebody come out and talk about it, yeah, if somebody come out and talk about it, we can bash him then. But until then, I leave it at it is.
Yeah,
I know, so I say go.
Vegas the planet so from 2 years ago, him the planet and he can't come off.
Tyler Lala, somebody said they can't believe their age. So somebody call and defend Handsome, so like what you call. Somebody in a comment.
What happened?
Somebody in a comment said they can't believe that's why Jamaica now go change. Because you call and you defend Mr. Handsome. But
who said that? Woman or man?
Boy, I don't know. Nobody take them on though. I just then comment. You know, it's a open platform. Anybody can state them opinion and comment. You just read the comment. You know?
Yes, I pick up for Mr. Handsome, but I don't have no proof for Mr. Handsome. I don't have any proof for him. When the time I see the proof, in Jamaica, when my trouble kids, then I will look out on him. But I
Okay.
don't see any proof of him troubling any kid down there.
Right. Okay.
So me can't bash him for that.
Straight up.
He can change if they say he touched kid in America. He can change.
I say said thing
So
too.
if I don't get up and cuss him,
I say said
I
thing.
have any proof.
I don't have no problem with what Mr. Vegas I do now. If I'm go against pedophile, go against whole heap of them there in Jamaica. You know?
Go against all of them.
Go against all of them. But I guess through I think I true. Yeah, I think I true you don't have handsome as a public figure in a sense. So him now the spotlight upon him, so he must shine the spotlight. I understand what Vegas are trying to do. The spotlight is on Mr. Handsome, so he must shine it upon him. But when he must do it over and over, I mean, get a break now. Just make if him do a thing, just make time will catch up on him, and we could just see how it go. That's how you go. We can't debate on this every day. We have other more important things. See, government locked down the country for 2 more weeks. Yeah, I'll be a 3 day and I can work and something. And them something there, right? For real.
And in the Mr. Handsome, the hand. I want it.
Okay, Carla. Yeah.
Okay.
Alright. Bless up yourself and thanks for calling, yeah?
Okay, take care of yourself.
Yeah, man. Bless.
The video was done like what? I will never do that video. This video was done September 4th. This video was done like what? 3 days ago? 2 days ago? 2 days ago. The video was done 2 days ago, people. Why that video that important? You see what happened, you know? You see, and the people who are educated will understand what going on here. So what really happening, you know? The one subject we are talking about, you know. We're talking about people like the woman there as an enabler. And that's the bigger problem, you know. The one subject there, you know, is a problem, you know. But the one subject there can be contained if we put things in place and if we drive enough fear and create enough awareness. Parents will be like, you know what? Me not send my little boy go over there. And a little boy will say, me not go over here because I'm a FISH. So when we create the awareness, enough youth know now, enough little youth are going to say, okay, you understand? When my little boy grow up, we want to go over one snapper yard. You see me I say? If a man say, yo, the man is a snapper, we not going near him yard. You see me I say? We come like a boogeyman. You see? So that one subject that can be contained. The problem is, a woman, a people, especially women, a people like with a woman, like that woman, they will just attack. And that's why the conversation is continuing. The subject, no. The subject are just the foundation of the whole conversation. Or, you know what? It's not even subject of the foundation. The enablers them are the foundation. The subject actually have a benefit from the foundation because the subject now can be out and about, and if it chooses yes or no, can just go and be around kids and keep molesting kids. Until them see proof. Until a kid get molested down there. They don't care about a child nowhere. So if a child, if the subject should travel to another country and molest a child, oh, I'm foreign that man. Now I'm not to do with Jamaica. So you hear the enabler say? Until the subject troubles a kid down there. So in other words, even if a youth come forward and say something happened, them not gonna believe because them never come catch a subject on top of the child or do anything with the child. So in other words, the subject will never, ever be judged by these people. No matter what the subject do in another country, no matter. And maybe them not have the rationale to even think like that. You see? And them bold with them statements and them believe what them are saying. It's not like them not believe what them are saying, them actually believe what them are saying. So this conversation is continuing, not because we want the pedophile. Not because we must see the pedophile we want. No, the conversation will continue because of you people. Because many of us are shocked that so many of you out there. We knew there was a problem, but we never knew it runs so deep. That when that actually come on even social media and exposing yourself so the world and everybody around can know say this I understand. We can't believe, like we're in a shock. The way we're brazen with it. Like trust me. And the sad thing is when you swear so now win. When you swear so now win. So when just to get on the point across, when we go on anybody platform, you know that here. Guys I that this you know. I just give the time the little become I want to teach. So this idiot here I say until him get proof to. You can realize him can't read. Because you don't need no more proof. Say a person is a pedophile if a person was convicted of the crime. You don't need no more proof if it could happen in Japan. You can't take a lizard out of Japan and put the lizard in Jamaica and say it's a sheep now. So you must know say somebody will illiterate this, somebody will not have sense. But these enablers, them any which part them can find will look like, oh, this is a supporting center. Oh, over here so agree with me, may I go over there. Over here so agree with me, may I go over there. Let me try drop in a Vegas inbox, him block me. So if Vegas block me, I can't get to cuss him, so I will go over which part I can find anybody way against him and against him I say. And then want me to do other charity work. So if me start do some charity work and I can't do anything, like can violate people's rights. If me do charity work, once me do handout, me can become them favorite subject. Like yo, yeah man. You might do things to people, you might give handout to people, you might take care of poor people, you might buy bed, you might buy hospital bed. So you might buy hospital bed, you can't do anything. You see what I say? And they say the people. So them swear, so the conversation is continuing because we have motives that we want to talk about, or we just have nothing else to talk about. At this point, we're just talking about something that is very important, and we continue the conversation because we realize there are a lot of you out there. And we are trying exposing as much as we can. So that means if someone who have domestic work on to do. Someone who are foreign and want to work at people's homes. So if we catch on a picture, we put up on a picture too. So that a person we are hire, we see the comments we want to make in support of pedophilia. And no say, you will not be welcome in their homes. Not for you a nurse. Not for you a teacher. Maybe a teacher when I go call the education center tomorrow. Yeah? Because that teacher should not be teaching our children. You see what I say? I post nurse, I post teacher, I post all kind of people in support of what's going on. I not post them because I like them, or because I want to give them fame. No. I just try to do my part to create some form of awareness. That is the reason why a lot of girls, and why we play the sister video earlier on. She said nobody no believe her. You hear a woman like that, how her granddaughter or her daughter could I go to she go tell her grandson, could I go to she and tell her that, oh, you know, something happened. Should I run them? Should I be like, yo, go after you, so I never see nothing? Until they bring the proof, come show me. So the son or the daughter or the granddaughter would have to come and show them, you know, empirical evidence like, yo, For them even maybe, and them still may not believe because them going to blame the victim. So how you did dress when you go over there? So why you did attempt him? How that you wear go over there? You see? I want to play that thing on your phone. See? Somebody introduced this to me today. Some very graphic subject matter in this. So you may want to take that into consideration. I want you to watch this thing here.
Leave her house to go get food with her. On May 16, 2014, 9-year-old Felicia Williams would leave her house to go get food with her trusted godmother and her godmother's new boyfriend. Instead of going to the McDonald's that they had planned to eat at, the man would drive the girls to his apartment, where a series of events would take place that led to the young girl's death. Felicia, who was affectionately known to her family as Sugar Plum, was living with her mother and 3 sisters in Tampa, Florida. 23-year-old Ebony Riley had befriended the family after moving next door to them, as she worked at a nursing home as a housekeeper nearby. Over a period of around 8 months, Ebony would grow very close to the young girl Felicia and the family as a whole, and they would all affectionately refer to her as the girl's godmother.
Did you and Felicia Williams become close?
Yes.
Can you describe the kind of relationship that you and Felicia Williams had?
It's like a mother and daughter. I fed her. If she needed anything, I gave it to her. It was a very close relationship of like a mother and a daughter relationship.
Did you think of yourself as like a pseudo godmother to her?
Yes, ma'am.
Would you see each other daily or a couple times a week?
Daily. She'll make sure she comes see me.
Ebony had recently met a new man and let him into her life after he had struck up a conversation with her on the street. May 13, 3 days before the death of young Felicia, Ebony and one of Felicia's sisters, Jeremisha, were walking to the store close to their house.
Did you meet this person who first identified themselves as Trevor? Where did you initially meet that person?
I was walking down the street with Hattie Girl. Was on the way to going to the store, and he seen me. We caught eye contact. I walked on the back road, and he pulled up behind us and put up, and he tried to talk to me.
And when you said that he had pulled up behind you, can you describe how that happened?
He pulled up, and he was like, "What's up?" And I was like, "Hey," and he was trying to talk to me. He said, "Oh, I thought you was a young girl." I was like, "No." And
let me stop you for a minute. Was he? You said he was driving?
Yes.
What kind of vehicle was he in?
It was a silver Lexus vehicle.
A silver Lexus?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you speak first to him, or did he speak to you first?
He spoke to me first.
And what was the first thing that he said to you?
He said, "Hey." I was like, "Hey." He was like, I was trying to make sure that you weren't no little girl. I was like, "No."
I'm sorry. He said, I was trying to make
sure that you was no young girl. I was like, "No." And that's when he proceeded to talk to me, and he got my number. I got his.
Was he insinuating that you were a young girl?
Because I looked at him, and he was like, "Oh, no, I just don't want the police to come up behind me and say you young." I was like, "No, I'm old enough." And he proceeded to communicate with me and talk, and that's when he gave me his number, and we ended up talking on the phone.
Granville Williams, who had at the time actually given his name to Ebony as Trevor, has a disturbing criminal history. A Jamaican-born American who had...
Look at that face. Can you see anything wrong with that face? Can you tell that he's a predator? Can you tell that he's a person that is on trial? Can you see his intentions? Look decent, right? Look a decent man.
Charges are laid against him in 2013, the year prior, for assault against his estranged wife. He was arrested for raping and strangling her at gunpoint. The state was forced to drop the case though when the victim redacted her statement and said she didn't remember the attack happening. On top of this, after he was in custody for the murder of Felicia Williams, 4 more charges were placed against him for sexual misconduct with a child. The 12-year-old girl had come forward to speak to police about her interactions with him post his arrest. After Ebony had exchanged her phone number with this man, they would begin to talk on the phone immediately and organized a hangout for that night.
Was this the first time that you had been to his apartment?
Yes, ma'am.
So he was on trial for raping his woman at gunpoint. Raping one woman, you know, at gunpoint. And the woman, what? She dropped the charges because she said she didn't remember anything. What that means? What that means? Means that she allow a predator to rule. She let you a predator to continue till it lead to this.
Was there any discussion before on the phone that that's where you all would hang out that night for the date?
No.
So when you went to the apartment, you said that you were drinking Hennessy?
Mm-hmm.
Is that a yes?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you know how many drinks you had?
Oh, probably like 2.
Did the defendant drink any Hennessy?
Yes.
Do you know how many drinks he had?
Probably like 2 too.
And you said that you took some drugs?
Yes.
Who gave you those drugs?
He did.
And who is he, the defendant?
Yes.
And what drugs did he give you?
He gave me Molly.
Did you and the defendant engage in sex at all that night?
Yes, we did.
And where is it that you had sex with the defendant?
In the room.
In what room?
He presented the room that was his mom's.
He had told you it was his mother's room?
Yes.
What was in that room?
It was a bed.
Did you spend the night or stay for a few hours and then go home?
I can't recall that I spent the night, but I believe I spent the night. I can't remember.
Do you recall how you got home?
Yes, he took me home.
Do you recall if you had to work that next day?
I believe I did have to work. I'm not sure, but yes, I believe I had to work because it was on a weekday. Yes.
So you would have had to be at work at 7 a.m.?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you have feelings for the defendant when you?
Yes, I did.
When did you start developing feelings for him?
That night. That night we had a nice conversation about life and relationships, and I thought we was going to take it further, but no.
When you say that you had a nice conversation about relationships and life, can you go into a little bit more detail about what you talked about?
He sold me a dream. That's what I believe. He sold me a dream.
He sold you a dream?
Yeah. He was like, I make a lot of plenty money. I'm going to take you, work with me, and stuff like that. And he sold me a dream. That's what I believe.
What did he tell you that he did for a living?
Work on phone towers.
Did you think that you were falling in love with him?
Yeah, I did.
You did fall in love with him?
Yeah.
35-year-old Granville would tell Ebony that he was single and gave no hint that he was involved with any other women. Over the next 2 days, they would stay in communication almost constantly, and this is reflected by extensive phone records. Ebony was falling for this man and even saved his contact in her phone as my husband, as he promised to marry her one day. During one of these many conversations that they had, Granville would learn about Ebony's goddaughter, Felicia.
In any of those conversations, did you bring up Felicia Williams?
It was that day I brought up Sugar Plum. I believe that Thursday or that Wednesday, my manager came to me. Someone came to me and said that it was a young girl coming up to the job looking for you and stuff like that. And I think that was the second time she had told me about Sugar Plum coming up to the job. And really, I was going to decide to call HRS and going towards her mother's house because I'm like, I know the school hours, and I'm like wondering why she's showing up at the job around school hours. And then I called him and vented to him.
When you say you called him and vented to him, is that the defendant?
Right.
And did you vent to him about your concern about Felicia coming up to your job?
Correct.
And what was his response when you...
Because I brought it up. I was like, I'm going to call HRS on her mother. And he was like, what are you talking about? I'm like, my God, child, she's showing up at my job during school hours. And I'm like, how in the world this child is out the door around this time of day and then if she's not at school? And he was like, no, don't do that. That might be your gift. You know, you need to care for the child. You know, maybe you need to take her to McDonald's. We need to take her to McDonald's and sit down and talk to her. And I thought about it. I was like, you know what? You're right. Okay, we can do that.
Ebony would organize with Granville that he was going to pick her up that day after she finished work. They would then drive to Felicia Williams' house and collect the child, then take her to a nearby McDonald's to discuss with her recent rebellious behavior. Granville, who worked as a repairman on cellular towers but was frequently unemployed, did not own the vehicle that he drove around in. At the time of this incident, he had no home but would often stay with his girlfriend, Calissa Kelly, the owner of the silver Lexus. On the day of May 16, which was the day that Ebony and he had planned this intervention of sorts for young Felicia, Granville and his girlfriend Calissa were at a moneylender facility. Calissa was there with her silver Lexus, as she was going to use the title of this vehicle as collateral to apply for a loan.
At some point, did the defendant enter the residence and approach you?
Yes.
And what did he say to you?
I believe he asked me maybe how much longer I was going to be at that time. Not really sure.
Okay. Did he say something about having to leave, or you?
Eventually, he did say he needed to leave.
Okay.
He will be back.
In fact, did he leave the Insta-loan after that first time and then come back in a second time?
I don't think he left the premises. I think maybe he went back outside. But he didn't leave in the vehicle. He just went back outside.
That's what I meant. He left inside the business and walked back towards the vehicle.
Correct.
And then he came back in the business a later time?
A few minutes afterwards.
Okay.
Yes.
And you have seen today, I think a couple of weeks ago when you came into my office, you've seen a video from that lobby that reflects you being there and shows the defendant coming in and out?
Yes.
The second time he came in and approached you, did he tell you he needed to leave?
I think that's when he told me that he would be back. He had to go do something. Yeah.
Okay. And you were indicating to him that he didn't know the area.
Correct.
St. Petersburg.
Correct.
So you were trying to figure out what would you have to do in this area.
Correct.
And so he was telling you he needed to leave.
Correct.
Now, at some point, he walks out after telling you that. Is that right?
Correct.
And do you, at some point, get up and go out and follow him out?
When he told me, I didn't have a chance to speak because I was in the middle of doing something with the young lady. But when I finished signing it, that's when I got up to try to catch him, to ask him, like, where were you going? You don't even know anybody around here. So that's how that conversation went.
Okay. And were you trying to get him not to leave?
I was trying to get him to tell me where he was going, and I also was trying to get him to wait on me because it wasn't going to be that much longer.
And did he do that?
No.
Did he leave?
Yes.
And how did that make you feel?
I wasn't happy.
Would it be fair to say you were upset?
Yes, a little.
Okay. And later, did you get more upset?
Yes.
Because when he left, he told you he'd be right back, right?
Yes.
Okay. But he didn't come right back, did he?
No.
Calissa is left at the lone place without any house keys and is unable to get home. A number of angry text messages are sent from Calissa's phone to Granville. Despite a history of neglect and a general lack of care and consideration from Granville towards Calissa, she would defend Granville, saying that she believes he is not capable of this crime and has firmly supported him even after his arrest and conviction, maintaining their relationship throughout his incarceration. Prior to the trial, Granville encouraged Calissa to not attend the trial, and Calissa would...
This here is important. This here is important. All right. I want to point out something quickly, just in case it fly over somehow in the head or flew over somehow in the head. A lot of times parents see children acting up, misbehaving, and they're quick to be like, oh, you need to go live with your daddy. Right? The child went over daddy and came, and the child started misbehaving. But the mother like, oh, you need to go live with your daddy. Not sitting down with the child and be like, what's going on? Talk to me. You know you can trust me. Let the child develop that form of, trust in you. Like, some of you beat the child. Yo, you misbehave at school. Bow, backs up, kick down. After I work 3 jobs. I work 3 jobs and I send you go to school. Yeah, they at school I get trouble. Boy. Beat up the picnic. So the child start hating you. This child start resenting you. You understand me? I say, and that is when the child becomes vulnerable. Is that because that fly over enough on your head? You understand? That is when the child becomes vulnerable to whosoever, and the person that is already victimizing this child or confusing the child or letting the child act out. This person now is victorious because when I push the child towards that situation. So this situation now, this subject can be like, I told you your mama is not good. I told you your mama hates you. I told you that your mama is the devil. I told you I love you. I told you you can trust me. So that is what happened here. A 9-year-old visiting the other one at work when she's supposed to be in school. She was like, okay, let me call the authorities. The man influenced her, advised her, no, let us handle this. So the mother now pushed the child after them to go counsel the child, to go take care of the child, to go rehab the child. They are not experts. You as a mother, you can't rehab your child. You can't sit down and talk to your child. If you can't do it, why are you going to send your child off to another person and not seek help inside of trained, in a facility where people are trained? The same thing happened according to the information with Polite. The daughter acting out, Polite was like, according to the information, oh, let me handle this. He's not a psychiatrist. He's not a trained, he's not a professional to deal with these things. Your child acting out, and because you see me on social media and me attack, I'm just such an eloquent speaker and I have money and I have other kids around me, you're like, okay, I'll send her to come talk to you. Oh, you want me to talk to your child for you? You want me to talk to your daughter for you? Why are you sending your daughter to me? Why are you sending your daughter to me? Huh? And that's the problem with a lot of you women. So this one here now, telling, even when the man get arrested, for the crime, which we are going to get into, which we're going to talk about. This one here, you see her face? Look on her face and look on the people who are on the internet about me out. And look if she don't look like them. Me tell us that them have a certain look. Me tell us that them have a certain look to them. It's like, from you see them have a certain look to them. If you pull up them pictures, them look same way. I don't know if it's just by design. It's that all of them look same way. The long face there. Them always have a long face there. You see, she never believe. She never believe. She swear upon the Bible. Say, him never do it. He never do nothing.
Was served a subpoena to attend court. The animosity between the prosecutor and Calissa can be felt a number of times throughout her testimony.
And Miss Kelly, you are still in a relationship with this defendant, aren't you?
I am still his friend, yeah.
You know that what he's charged with.
Sorry to cut you. Until me see him do it, me a dep on film side. Until me catch him in the act, me a go dep on film side. Until he molest another child, when me see the evidence and me confirm say it's true, me a go dep on them side. You see? Just go and learn. Go and learn.
Correct?
Correct.
Capital murder of a little girl and raping her. And for the last 5 years, you've remained his girlfriend, right? Isn't that correct?
Yes.
And in fact,
Raping and killing a child. 9-year-old, she no believe. She's still in a relationship with a man for 5 years. Just make that sink in, man. You see that we are go through right now. You no see that with the Jamaican, especially Jamaican woman them. Them one them not go believe. Because the man there, the predator in this case, is them God. Them give everything to him. Them hand over everything to him. Them morals, them soul, them life, everything, him take it. Him take them soul. 5 years. Imagine you with somebody will kill or rape a child. Because in my opinion, a man will violate a little boy, will kill a little boy. If you molest a little boy or a little girl, you have the potential to kill them too. Because once you think you're going to get catch, you're going to kill them. And that's why I now stop talking about on a subject. Because I think say he will kill people. And I still think about the youth to drown in the tank. Remember me telling you that here? So you can go and talk about it.
in fact, you have visited him at the Hillsborough County Jail over 366 times.
Have I?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh,
Isn't that true?
I don't know the numbers, but I've been there.
And you have talked to him on the phone over 2,000 times over the last 5 years. Isn't that right?
Wow. I wasn't
Isn't that correct?
I can't say that's correct. All I can say is I do speak to him on the phone. I don't know the many times that I've spoken to him on the phone, but you are correct. We do still speak on the phone.
Yeah, 1 moment, sir.
You're so proud? What will I learn from this? Same thing. You hear them come up ball and bowl and proud. Hey man, I must see one Vegas one thing. Hey, you hear that? She proud. Oh, is that so many times? Yes, and I speak. She proud. Proud. She will do this all over again with another man. She will give her daughter to a man. Remember me tell you that in my opinion. Yeah?
And I think when you came to meet with me, and I was remiss not asking this earlier, you had told me that you had provided money to the defendant, correct, while he's been in jail?
For canteen?
For canteen, right.
Yes.
Yeah, so he can buy food, snacks, things like that, correct?
Correct.
For the last 5 years?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, how much total do you think that is?
You don't know?
You tell me.
I can't tell you. I didn't tell you the numbers of visit and the number.
Is it over $1,000?
It is it? I don't know, sir.
Is
I didn't keep it up.
Is it over $5,000?
I don't know. I just know I did it from my heart. I don't know how much it was. I just did it from my heart. I wasn't counting.
Right. Okay. So you get dragged into an investigation that you don't know anything about after the defendant takes your car and leaves you stranded. You're questioned by detectives. They seize your Lexus that you haven't gotten back to this day, and you still are in love with this defendant to the point where you go see him at the jail all the time and you call him, or you talk to him all the time when he calls you. Right? Is that right, ma'am?
No, you're wrong. You're wrong about some of the things you just said. You're wrong about me being in love with him. So, no, that's not the reason. It's the reason is because I want to know as well some things, and the reason is we are friends. So that's what friends do.
In fact, when you came to talk to me at the state attorney's office 4 weeks ago, who were you with when you walked up to the 3rd floor to my office? Who was with you? Who traveled with you that day?
Gloria?
Gloria Gibson.
Correct.
This defendant's mother.
Correct.
Ma'am, you are in a relationship with him, you love him, to the point where you travel places with his mother, correct?
Not often. Why does that have to do with anything?
The fact.
You see that? Who's the next demon in the picture? Who's the next devil in the picture? The mama. The boy mama. Enough of them women you see on social media different pedophile. Them son and molest children. And the reason why them so loud, the reason why them so forceful is because them are put up a shield to protect them son where them know say a molest children right now as we speak. Enough of them women here you see on social media I take up the nasty predator. Them boy, them son have breed like a pitney. Them son have pitney pregnant. Them son have molest pitney. Them son have molest next door neighbor. Them son have molest cousin. Them son have molest daughter. Them son. I'm telling you, man. You know you one apart. The boy mama. Eh? Eh?
That you're in love with him?
No, the fact that you keep saying that I am. Did I ever tell you that?
It has everything to do with your testimony.
One at a time.
When you asked me that, I told you no, right?
Miss Kelly, don't you think these jurors are entitled to know the nature of your relationship to this defendant since you're testifying in a case where he's charged?
Not really.
The truth about that?
The truth is that I'm not in love with him. That's what you asked me previously, and I told you no. So you're saying that to put emphasis on the relationship that we already had for 5 years.
And it goes back before the 5 years.
It does.
For maybe 2 years.
Probably.
So 7 years you've been in a relationship with him.
7 years, yeah.
Are you prepared to tell us now what you did with your loan money?
I don't have to tell you that.
You don't want us to know about that?
Will that help you with this little girl case?
Is there some reason you don't want to tell us?
If it's going to help you, I will tell you. So is it going to help you with this case or not?
Are you going to tell us or not?
I don't think it's going to help you. So that'll be a
You
no.
don't want to tell us, do you?
I don't think you need to know. It's
You
irrelevant.
don't want this jury to know, do you?
You should ask for the answer.
I have nothing else, Your Honor.
All right, Ross.
You see what going on, so? You hear her say? You hear what she say? Is it gonna help you with this little girl's case? What that means? The victim is not essential in a fair world. A decent human being will be like, yo, him kill a child and rape her? What do you want to know? I didn't know the man was like that. That's what a decent human being will do, right? A 9-year-old? A decent human being will be like, I don't know what happened. I don't know, but let me know what you want to know. Or if I can assist you, let me know. If I have a friend, and my friend violates somebody, molest somebody, kills somebody, whatever, and me see that as unjust, why would I be like, is that going to help you? No, I'm not going to tell you. Be like, yo, never know so the brother was like that, star. I could have my brother. I say, yeah, my brother, I love him, but yo, that wrong. What you want to know? Not in their world. Not in their world.
The defendant comes to pick you up.
He came pick me up. I got in the car and we rode around there, and I knocked on the door and I told Sugar to come over for to go.
When you say we rode around there, what do you mean?
To Sugar Plum House.
And was Felicia there?
Yes, she was there.
So did Felicia go and get in the silver Lexus?
Yes, she did.
And did you go get in the silver Lexus?
Yes, I did.
And who was driving?
Redville.
And where were you sitting?
In the front seat. And
where was Felicia sitting?
In the back seat.
When you left Felicia's house, where did you think that you were going to go to?
McDonald's.
Did the defendant drive you to McDonald's?
No, he did not.
Where did you go?
He was riding towards his house, and I'm looking like, I believe he done, I'm not sure that he said that's where he was going, but I know that was not the plan. And when I seen that we was going towards his house, I'm looking at, I'm standing in my head, I'm like, she hungry, you know what I'm saying? And he like, oh, he said out of blue, oh, my mom cook, and I'm looking like, she's not gonna eat your mama food.
Granville would not take the two to McDonald's as he had promised, but instead drove them in the opposite direction to his mother's apartment in Temple Terrace. On the way to the apartment, Granville stopped at a Checkers restaurant and bought Felicia some food. He then offered Ebony some MDMA.
So we got close to almost a destination, which is over in Temple Terrace, which is his house. He showed me while I was in the car. He wiggled the bag, and I'm like, oh shoot, he got drugs. And I know I read Sugar Plum, and I'm like, oh my God. So by the time we got report, he gave it to me, and it was in my hand.
So was that already after you had gone to Checkers?
Right.
Okay.
As soon as we got to the apartments, when I noticed that that's where he was going, I'm like, I said, Sugar Plum, call your mother and let her know that you with me. And I dialed her number, and she let her mother know that she was with me.
Whose number did you dial?
Her mother's number.
And what is her mother's name?
Felicia.
Felicia Demerson?
Yes, ma'am.
Did the three of you go upstairs?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry, it was his apartment upstairs?
Yes.
On the second floor?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And what happens when you all go into the apartment?
I know I took the Molly.
I'm sorry?
I took the Molly, the drug that he gave me. We went upstairs. She sat down. She was already proceeding eating in the car. And she finished eating while she was up when we got upstairs.
Did you remain at the apartment with Felicia and the defendant?
When?
After you got there after Checkers?
Yeah, I did.
How long were you there for?
We probably was there for I was there for 10, 15 minutes. That's when he called. He went in the kitchen and he told me to come here. And as soon as I got up, that's when I felt under the influence. And he was
and when you say you felt under the influence?
I felt the Molly kicking in. I felt high. I started feeling high. So that's when he was like, I went in the kitchen and he was like, do you know where to get some weed from? I was like, yeah. So I called my granddaddy and asked him, do he know who had some weed? And he was like, yeah, I know who got some weed, which is Windermere. And he's like, come to my house and he'll be over there.
Did you go over to your grandfather's house?
Yes, I did.
Did all three of you go to your grandfather's house?
No, ma'am.
So where did Felicia go when you went to your grandfather's house?
So when I confirmed with him that, my granddaddy got some weed over there, I asked, I told Felicia to come on, which is Sugar Plum. I told her to come on, and he was like, no, you don't have no license, and you finna go and get some weed so I can watch her. And I asked Sugar Plum, and she's okay, and she said, yeah. And I said, I'll be right back.
So it was the defendant's decision for you to keep her there so that she wouldn't be in a car with you who didn't have a license or
yes, ma'am.
Who had marijuana.
Yes, ma'am.
Were you concerned at all about leaving her with somebody that she had never met before?
No, I wasn't concerned. I wasn't concerned because how he.
No, you can just leave a child with him. No concern. A man that just gave you Molly, drugs, sending you to get weed. No. He has no sin cast the first stone. Yeah, I can't judge him. He just gave me some Molly. I guess he wanted me to feel good. Just leave the child with him. No big deal. It's like many of y'all leave your child with a convicted pedophile.
He made me feel comfortable on the first night I met him, and how he made me feel when we went to go and pick up Sugar Plum. So it was like he had that concern of like a father figure. Like, that's how I felt.
So how is it that you got to your grandfather's house?
He told me to drive his car.
Meaning the silver Lexus?
Yes.
Ebony leaves the apartment with the young girl in the care of Granville Ritchie. It takes her about 20 minutes to drive to her grandfather's house to collect the weed, and is gone for a total of around 50 minutes. When Ebony returns to the apartment complex, she calls Granville, who tells her that Felicia has gone to the local CVS as she wanted candy. He says that he did not want to go for a walk with her, so he gave her some money and sent her to the store alone. Ebony tries the gate code to the apartment complex that Granville provided her, but it was incorrect, and he is now no longer answering his phone calls. Unsure what to do, she goes to the CVS to look for Felicia. At the store, Felicia is nowhere to be found, so Ebony returns to the apartment complex once more.
I went straight back to the apartments.
Were you calling Granville or the defendant to let him know that Felicia was not at the apartment?
So halfway when I got almost there, he called me. And I was like, that's not the gate code. He was like, yes, it is. So when I got to the gate code, I typed it in again. And it was not the gate code. So I'm like, oh my God, I'm getting frustrated. So that's when I see, it was a little boy who had approached me with a white karate suit on. And he was like, you trying to get in the gate? I was like, yes, can you come over here and type in the code? And he typed in the code and I came in.
Did you then drive back to the apartment?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you see the defendant back at the apartment?
Yes, I did.
And where did you see him at?
He was standing outside.
Outside where?
Up his door.
And he was upstairs standing outside of his door?
Yes, ma'am.
What did he look like?
He had no shirt on. He was.
Sorry?
He had no shirt on. He looked like he was sweating. Like he was just. And I looked up as I was driving. I'm like, damn, what is going on? So I pulled in, drive through. I went at the parking lot and I went upstairs. And he was telling me they ain't gotta let her go to the store and she ain't come back yet.
Were you concerned that Felicia was not there and that you could not find her at the CVS?
Yes, I was very concerned.
So what happened next?
That's when that's when he calmed down and I started thinking, I'm like, oh my God, just grabbed him, left and go to the dang on store.
I'm sorry, what was that?
After he done calmed down, that's when I sat there and I thought about it. I was like, dang, she done went to the store and he done let her go to the store. So that's when I was about to start panicking, like, why you let her go to the store? You know, she already ate, you know. And he was like, I don't know. She really wanted some candy. And I was like, I want to pray. And I was like, I need to get in the closet and pray.
Okay. So.
You know what she did? She went and prayed. A child that she took from her mother because it's her goddaughter. And the man sent her to go buy weed and give her money. She came back. She can't find the child at the store or at the apartment. You know what she gonna do? Pray. Pray to Jesus. Pray to God to bring back the child. Oh Lord Jesus, can you just let her just show up now? Not call the police first. Not call the mother. Pray. Yes.
Why did you need to go in the closet?
Because I was getting ready to panic, knowing that I was high and I was trying to have just calm down. And I went in the closet. He said, you go in my mom's room in her closet and pray. And I just sat there, got on my knees and started praying.
How long did you stay in that closet? Do you remember?
No longer than 20 minutes.
What was the next thing you then did?
20 effing minutes. This woman spent praying. A child is missing. I hate hurt, man. Yo, I swear I hate this earth. I don't know why I even came here, Bridget. Trust me.
Felicia returned during that time?
No, she did not.
So what did you do next?
So I came out. He was rolling the blunt, and I took a drink, and he proceeded sexual towards me, and we had sex.
And where is it that you had sex that time?
Right in the front room floor. Right in the front room floor.
Was that the room that has the couches in it?
The front room, yes.
Okay. At all, did you and the defendant ever go look for the victim out around the apartment?
No, we did not.
Why didn't you go look for the victim?
I was following his lead. He said, I'm finna drop you off home. I was like, oh, okay. And then I'm saying to myself, I'm like, well, dang, we need to go look for the little girl. Like, I'm saying it to myself, but it's his car, and I'm not going to say nothing out the way. So I'm just like, I waited till he dropped me off, and then I called her sister and see where she was.
Was there a conversation about what you were going to do or what you were going to say about Felicia being missing?
Yes.
Ultimately, you were going to have to tell her family, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So what conversation took place with regards to that?
He told me to tell her parents that it wasn't no male in the house. And then he told me that he's telling his mom was in the house, a female in the house.
Okay, so why did that whole conversation happen, and why is he telling you to say that there's no male in the house?
To make me seem like I wasn't no bad person leaving her, and he told her to go to the store.
Was he telling you that you would be viewed as a bad person?
Yes, ma'am.
That if you had left Felicia there with a man, that you would be viewed as the bad person?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you point out to him that he was the one that in fact told you that you needed to leave her with him?
To who?
Did you tell the defendant that?
No.
So you're just going along with what he's saying?
Yes, ma'am.
So if you weren't going to be allowed to say that there was a man there at the house, what was the story going to be then?
That it was a woman there, and she left out the door. I took a shower and she left out the door. That was the lie that I told in the beginning.
Granville would concoct a story in which both Ebony and his mother, Gloria Gibson, became involved in. The story was that Ebony took Felicia to the apartment to visit Granville's mother. While she was there visiting, she took a shower, and this is when Felicia ran away as the door was left open. Ebony and Granville's mother, Gloria, agreed to stick by this story despite never having met each other. Granville then drives Ebony back to her home, and from here she would meet up with one of Felicia's sisters, whom in turn
who in the plan, the mama, the dirty mama. Let me tell you something, people. You see them people who say come on social media, you see attacks. Them just like the mother. They've made them offend your people. They've made them get to you. You see people who come on social media defend pedophiles. Them are just like the woman where you look on the screen. Just look on her good. Look on her. Just look on her good. Eh? You carry a child around a man. You left the child with the man. You come back the child missing. You go pray. Then you help. You help to make up a story. Link up with him mama. I'll know it not click to you. Say no man something wrong. I'll know it not click to you. Say why him want me tell a lie. I'll know it not click to you. Say yo why him mama. Whenever you know why? Because this is not his first time. The mama is a cover up from morning. No for one woman in the social. You think say, you think you offend me? Me soon as predators. Me soon as the most disgusting beings where, if me can call them that. One of the most disgusting animals. Me can call them that. Me not even know if I call them. So me just go that's what. One of disgusting
alerts her family that the young girl is missing. The family notifies police and a search for Felicia is commenced. The situation is only classed as a runaway child for a few hours and shortly escalates to a missing persons investigation. The search is extensive as flyers were handed out, door knocking and sniffer dogs were utilized, and Felicia Williams is looked for all across Temple Terrace. Ebony is questioned a number of times regarding the last time she saw Felicia, and the apartment is searched. The lie that Granville told his mother and Ebony to tell would continue to hold up as both women don't budge from the story. When Granville's mother was interviewed by police, she would play along so well as she would say that she recalls Felicia, the girl that she had never once met, was a mean young girl. A final police interview is conducted with Ebony, and this time she tells a different story. In this new story, she says that she was actually there to visit Granville, not his mother. She informs police that she was having sex with Granville in the other room, and when they finished, Felicia was nowhere to be found. After the interview, Ebony is arrested for providing false information in an investigation.
Why is it that you decided to change your story and then tell them that there was a man in back there?
Because I don't know, I just telling the truth. And then by the end of the night when they told me that she's dead, I was like, no, I really left her with this man. So if it's end up to being something, somebody need to say something.
But when you told them that it was there a man was there and you were in the shower and she walked away, that was not the truth though, correct?
No, that was not the truth.
Did you stick with that story or did you?
When they told me that she was dead, I told the truth.
When did you learn that Felicia was located?
Before they arrested me.
Let me finish my question, Ms. Wilder, before you answer, okay? When you learned that Felicia had been found dead, where were you?
In the police station.
The same night of May 17th of 2014?
Right, that's it, yes.
And how is it that you learned that?
By the end of the night, they had put me in another room and they sat me down and it was like, now you need to tell the truth. Where do you think she at? And I'm like, she probably somewhere in somebody's house. And they was
Did you honestly think that or were you?
Yes, I honestly thought that.
How did you think she would be in somebody's house?
Because she was one friendly person. She was just free to talk to anybody. She wasn't scared.
So you were told that she was found deceased, is that correct?
Yes.
And so what did you tell law enforcement then?
I told them that I lied. And they was like, what you lied about? I said I left her with Trevor and he wanted me to go and get some weed for him. And then when I came back, she wasn't there.
Did you tell them that you had gone to the CVS looking for her?
I'm not sure. I told them all that. I don't even think they gave me a choice to tell them that they just arrested me. They said you're arrested for giving false information.
And was this third story that you told them, was that then the truth of what happened?
Yes.
Everything that you have testified to here as to what you did on that day?
Yeah.
There's some paper towels right there, Ms. Wiley.
The next day, which is May 17th at around noon, Maria Diaz has finished work at a laundromat and went to the beach to unwind with her friend.
De ahí estaba yo sentada ahí y el amistad mío se fue a sentar al lado mío y cuando me dijo que me levantara rápido porque hay algo ahí que estaba nadando en el agua.
So I went to sit down there. Then my friend came to sit down next to me, and he told me to get up quickly because there was something there in the water. Okay. And did you see that thing in the water? ¿Y usted pudo ver eso que estaba en el agua?
Sí, estaba al lado mío.
Yes, it was next to me. And what did it appear to be? ¿Y qué, lo que usted vio, qué le parecía a usted que era?
Lo miramos que era una persona porque se bajaba y su cabecita se bajaba y se veía que una cabecita así que estaba bajando y subía y se bajaba.
We saw that it was a person because we saw the little head going up and down. The little head would go up and down.
Felicia's body had been in the water for around 17 hours and was now smashing against the jagged rocks. As police recovered her body from the water, they noticed that Felicia had sustained a large amount of injuries post-mortem from hitting the side of the rocks.
Can you give us a brief overview of the injuries that you opined or that you observed?
I think the most notable thing was the body had multiple superficial injuries. That is, they didn't really go deep in the body. And those are distributed primarily across the front of the face and the chest. There's some lesser injuries, but all of those were post-mortem artifacts. That is, they happened after this girl was dead. There were other injuries that were external as well as internal that happened while she was alive. For example, she has some genital injuries. I believe those happened while she was alive. She had some injuries inside her throat that happened while she was alive. She had injuries to her shoulder that happened while she was alive. Injuries to her middle back that happened while she was alive.
Did you observe any injuries about her head?
Yes, there were several bleeds underneath her scalp. Again, those happened while she was alive. She also had some bleeding on the sides of her head that happened while she was alive. Those are associated with the strangulation injuries that I mentioned earlier.
For most of this section, the camera was pointed at the defendant, Granville Ritchie, due to the graphic nature of the photos being displayed.
Can you explain what specifically we're looking at here and whether or not any injury is documented on these photographs?
This is the right, as you're looking, it's as though you were looking at Felicia. Her right eye is on our left, her left eye is on our right. And there is a eyelid retractor that's been placed in to open her eyes so you can really see the whites of her eyes well. And you see the little blood vessels here. That's the arteries joining the veins. The capillaries are in there. And the little red dots, those are the particular pinpoint bleeds. What happens is, if you're struggling to breathe, you put pressure on the blood within the blood vessels inside.
I know I mess about this. Look at him. No remorse. Nothing. Who this remind you of? Ashanti 360. Who this remind you of? The pedophile of the people I defend. Never yet come forward and show any form of remorse for what him do to look a 13-year-old in New York. Never yet come forward and say, listen to me, I will stay away from children because, you know, I would not want a child to go through anything that they're accusing me of. Even if him said that, listen, he said, yo, me never did do it, but you never yet hear him come forward and defend a victim. You never hear him support them defend a victim. You never see one support them and say, listen to me, me no man with trouble a child or mess with a child, you know, me not support them. No. It happened in New York and it not happened in Jamaica, so we can just look over that and just forgive him because he was no sin cast the first one. Look pan the man look pan the man demeanor, look pan the man face and tell me if it no correlates with the predator we are talking about every day. And y'all want us to stop talking about this. I don't want me to go talk about hospital bed where people now wear masks and catch COVID. You don't want me to go talk about chop off head. You know why head a chop off? Because mama like Uno, dirty mama like Uno, where raise boy pitney uphold with them wrongdoings. Make them boy pitney where Uno raise go chop off woman head and then you know want me to come talk about it. See? Uno raise boy pitney if you no have no respect for woman. Uno raise boy pitney and cover for them when them do wrongs. The mama and him woman, they knew from day one, 17 hours after them find the baby in the sea. 17 hours them find this child. They found this child. And the mama and the woman when they with stood by their story. The mama and the woman we go visit him. Over 2,000 phone calls and over 400 visits. They stood by him. Me can understand the dirty mama I stand up with him, but the woman, the girlfriend, put her neck on the black film.
Even after them find the pitney in the sea. Eh? I want to come tell me, say, want to decide when me must talk about, and who me must talk about, and when me fi stop talk, and me fi stop talk about one smaddy. No, that one smaddy when me a talk about, that open my eyes, to make me know, say, I saw uno woman, especially uno dirty woman, and the man them will defend it, them are uno in the same boat, because them actually just a tell we where them learn from uno. Them just a express themselves. The man them way against me, we a speak up against this. Them just express themselves because them learn from the best. Them learn from uno dirty woman. Uno dirty woman will cover up when uno daughter get molested. When uno niece them get molested. When uno little cousin them get molested. When uno church sisters, daughters them get molested. When children come around uno, I wanna claim say uno be guardian, uno guard. Uno predator pitney them and predator sons them and predator neighbor. From being prosecuted. Una wicked and una come tell about God and Jesus. You hear what a girl go do? After she carry the woman pitney, go get to the predator. She go in one closet, go pray. Look upon him face. Una come tell him, yo, listen to yo, me despise you know. Me not think, not even know how much me despise you know. Trust me.
Side, and the capillaries there rupture. So it's a little different process. It's a different mechanism, but the end result's the same thing. That is these pinpoint bleeds.
And these pinpoint bleeds, specifically in this epicardium and the thymus area, are caused by consistent with manual strangulation. Is that correct?
They are consistent but not diagnostic of. Again, this is a non-specific finding. This doesn't prove or disprove strangulation. It's a very common finding in strangulation.
As we go further, are there items or injuries that you saw that do in fact point directly to manual strangulation?
Yes, actually, if you go back to strangulation in general, because you can also see it with ligatures or ropes around the neck, belts, that kind of thing. The hemorrhages in the whites of the eyes. That is a finding that you see in strangulation, either manual or ligature. And then internally, we're going to see some more findings that are more indicative of manual strangulation. That is the hemorrhages in the neck that we've already touched on. The hemorrhages in the temporalis muscles. Those are different types of asphyxiation, strangulation predominantly, and that could be either a ligature or manual.
Over almost a 3-hour testimony, Dr. James Downs will describe in graphic detail, using photos of the deceased girl's body, every single injury she sustained, both in life and after death. He meticulously outlines all of the injuries caused by the environment, and then details injuries to her neck, head, shoulders, legs, and vagina that could not have been caused by the environment.
Are pathologists typically able to say the death occurred at 5 p.m. on this date?
Only on TV.
Okay. Are your findings consistent with her death occurring at approximately 5 p.m., being placed into the water at approximately 11:30 p.m., and being found the next day at around 3 p.m.?
Yes.
Dr. Downs, do you have an opinion as to whether or not the victim in this case was alive or dead when she was placed in the water?
I don't have any indication that she was alive. I can't completely dismiss that, but based on everything that I see, I believe she was dead when she was placed in the water.
Are all of the inflicted pre-mortem or pre-death injuries consistent with having been occurred at or around the time of her death?
They are.
Do you have an opinion as to the amount of time it would take a person to inflict all of those injuries that we have been discussing all afternoon?
They could certainly happen within a matter of minutes. We discussed the strangulation to the point of unconsciousness, continuing that grip for another couple of minutes. Add to that a couple of blows to the head, the forceful gripping or whatever it is that caused the bruising, the shoulders, the bruising to the back. That could all have happened in the order of minutes. The genital, it doesn't take long to have one thrust and you have that injury. So all told, it could have been, maybe 5 minutes. Could be longer than that.
Minutes as a minimum. 5 minutes as a minimum.
And again, don't hold me to the 5 minutes. If you said 4 minutes, 30 seconds, I'd say, sure, why not? But a ballpark, that's an estimate.
Are your findings consistent with a 9-year-old being attacked, raped, strangled?
Again, you used a term that I don't use. Forced sexual penetration, yes, and would be consistent with this manual strangulation as well.
You determine well. You people that talking about this happened foreign and all of them things there. You the term we just use? Force sexual. Understand? Listen again. Yeah?
And you have that injury. So all told, it could have been, maybe 5 minutes. Could be longer than that.
Minutes as a minimum. 5 minutes as a minimum.
And again, don't hold me to the 5 minutes. If you said 4 minutes, 30 seconds, I'd say, sure, why not? But a ballpark, that's an estimate.
Are your findings consistent with a 9-year-old being attacked, raped, strangled?
Again, you used a term that I don't use. Forced sexual penetration, yes, and would be consistent with this manual strangulation as well, and attack.
You hear that term there? You hear that? Forced sexual penetration. Because in his field, them don't really use the term rape on them things there. Strangulation. What's that parallel to? Your savior, where you sell your soul for, forcible touching a child, forcible touching, forcible contact. So maybe to it pretty, you think say no nothing. Alright? So make you know that.
A reasonable degree of medical certainty, what is the cause of death of Felicia Williams?
Ask and answer.
Sustain the objection.
Within a reasonable degree of medical certainty, what is the manner of death for Felicia Williams?
Well, actually, I don't know if it's been asked within a reasonable degree of medical certainty. So go ahead, you can answer.
Manner of death is homicide.
No further questions, Judge.
Just before the discovery of Felicia's body, Granville Ritchie was picked up by police as a possible suspect in the disappearance of the girl and interviewed. Throughout this interview, he maintained the same story as Ebony, that they were having sex and then the girl vanished. He tells police that on the night of May 16th, he drove around for a while looking for Felicia and then drove east to visit a friend. Phone tower data shows that he in fact drove west, not east, west towards the causeway near where Felicia's body was found. The phone records also show that during this time, he was on the phone with someone. This someone happened to be another woman whose name is Ivy Van, a woman from Mississippi and who was also in love with Granville. She had been in a relationship with him for around a year prior to these events, as they had met when he was repairing cellular towers in her area. The two would stay in regular contact via phone and text, and Ivy was unaware that he was in a relationship with Calissa. She would send Granville money frequently, which is shown via bank records and text messages. On the night of May 16th, around 11 p.m., approximately the time that Felicia was placed in the water, Granville calls his long-distance girlfriend, and they talk on the phone for a bit.
So that day when he called me, he said, "Baby, I'm listening to you and I'm ready to go back to work. I want us to, to move out of the state
start your family, start a relationship, and you get that better relationship and start a family. And I said, oh, what happened? I'm happy, I was happy.
And so on that day when he called you at 11:11 p.m., did he sound upset or stressed in any way?
No.
Did he sound the way he normally did on all the other times you had spoken to him?
Yeah, he sounded, it was different because nobody don't talk to me like the way he was talking, being nice on the phone, so.
Pedophilia 101. Great manipulators. Them can get money out of anybody. You see who you have a mind him? You see who I send money for him? Manipulator. And in this most gruesome moments or gruesome acts when them commit it, them are the nicest. Call her a propose. Want a family, want to settle down. With a child, where him just throw in the sea or still have in the car. A 9-year-old baby, where him just rape. Nicest person them. No for wanna get tricked, man.
Do you mean talking about your future and moving forward in your relationship?
Right. Because we never say nothing like that, so happy. Yeah.
A mountain of evidence would pile up against Granville over the course of the trial, with many links connecting him to the location of where Felicia's body was both placed in the water and then found. Felicia Williams' body was found on the Courtney Campbell Causeway, and traffic cameras show that the silver Lexus was actually there when he said he was in a completely different location. A mangrove leaf was found in the headlamp of the Lexus that matches the same plants on the causeway where the body was found. Scratches on the side of the Lexus that match recently caused damage to the plants on the side of the road, and sand found in the passenger side of the vehicle that matches samples of the area. A 911 call was placed from Granville's phone that only lasted a few seconds at the time of Felicia's disappearance. The defense would argue that no DNA was found on the sex kit, and no other DNA than Felicia's was found on her body. The prosecution would argue this and say that condoms were found amongst Granville's possessions in the vehicle, and also noted that it is quite common in cases that deal with sexual assault to see blunt force injuries the same that Felicia had, with no traces of DNA if a condom is used. A broken wheel and a zip from a suitcase were found in Granville's mother's apartment, the same apartment that had scuff marks from the broken wheel dragged along the floor. The prosecution said that Granville had stuffed Felicia's 110-pound body into the suitcase and then dragged it across the apartment in a panic, breaking the wheel and the zip. He then loaded the suitcase into the trunk of his girlfriend's car, and later that night at 11 p.m. drove to the Courtney Campbell Causeway to place the body in the water. Cell phone tower data not only puts him close to the location of the causeway, but directly conflicts with Granville's story of where he says that he was at that very time that Felicia's body was being placed nude into the dark, cold waters. The jury would reach a verdict of guilty for first-degree murder, aggravated child abuse, and capital sexual battery. This was not the end of the trial, though, as the penalty phase would need to be conducted to decide whether Granville would face the death penalty or not. For the state of Florida to be able to pursue the imposition of the death penalty, the prosecution must prove beyond a reasonable doubt the existence of a number of aggravating factors that accompanied the crime. In this case, the state would argue that the aggravating factors present are as follows. The victim of the capital felony was a person less than 12 years of age. The capital felony was committed while the defendant was engaged in the commission of a sexual battery. And 3, the capital felony was especially heinous, atrocious, or cruel. Here is a quote from court documents. In this case, the jury unanimously found that the state proved the aggravating factor of heinous, atrocious, or cruel beyond a reasonable doubt. Specifically, the court finds that the testimony of Dr. Upshaw Downs and Dr. Randall Alexander establishes that the child victim suffered numerous injuries to her head, neck, body, and genitalia during the course of sexual battery and homicide. Their testimonies established that the extensive injuries to the child victim's genitalia were indicative of forced sexual penetration. These injuries, when perpetrated against a 9-year-old girl, would be particularly painful as her body was not physiologically prepared to engage in sexual intercourse. Additionally, the testimony from Dr. Upshaw Downs regarding the extensive injuries to the child victim's neck, signs of internal injury and bleeding in the neck and head, hemorrhaging of the blood vessels of the eyes, and deep injuries to her tongue caused by forceful biting, all indicate that the victim was alive, conscious, and struggling for her life during the forced sexual assault and homicide. The expert testimony established that this process took several minutes at a minimum, allowing the victim to be fully aware of her impending death. Taken together, the facts in this case established that the child victim suffered a horrendous, physically painful, and psychologically torturous death at the hands of the defendant. End quote. Dr. Emily Lazarou would conduct an evaluation of Granville and his case, and here is a quote from court documents in regards to her findings that he suffers antisocial personality disorder. Quote, "In support of her diagnosis, Dr. Lazarou emphasized the defendant's pattern of deceitfulness and manipulation of others for his own benefit or pleasure, his consistent irresponsibility with regard to his financial obligations, and his lack of remorse for having hurt or mistreated others, amongst other criteria, indicates a diagnosis of antisocial personality disorder." Dr. Lazarou supported her findings by pointing out the defendant's pattern of manipulating women in his life to financially support him, as well as the manipulation of Ebony Wiley prior to the offense in order to get the child victim in this case alone with him. The actions preceding the sexual assault and murder of the child were carefully thought out and executed in an effort to avoid detection and responsibility for the offense. She explained that these are not behaviors of someone who is incapable of controlling their actions due to mental defect, but were instead the result of careful...
You hear that? Incapable of controlling his actions. Because of what? He have a sickness. He have a sickness. That is what we are trying to tell Uno. When a person has a sickness and don't get help, even when they get help, them still dangerous. Much more them not get no help. They manipulate people. They will turn the whole world against you. And sit back and watch it plays out. Y'all stupid. Fear fall for this. And that is the reason why we continue speaking on it. Because you've been manipulated. Him sick. And it's not the first time him and him mama I carry out them type of things here. That's the reason why I'm doing it at mother house. I use him mother suitcase dumper. All of them things there significant to him. Him connected to it. Because maybe he was molested. And maybe the mama know. So the mama know say him a fight a demon. What wanna call it? We call it sickness. You get up every day to talk about the man. So when we stop talking about him? Don't talk about him again? Me can go up on him now. Me can want him batty now. And the man batty you want. Oh, you want it. So me want him now. You've been set up to hate people because you've been manipulated. You've been set up to defend a predator will sit back and watch you go to work and feel good and feel victorious. He felt victorious in that courthouse when he see the girl that stand up for him And I said, and proud. She was proud to be his supporter in the courthouse. Became sick. Look at this face. Look at this. No form of remorse. Ready if him never get catch, there'll be 100 more victims.
For forethought and planning. End quote. A number of mitigating factors were presented by the defense and considered by the jury, such as the defendant's claim, backed up by video testimonies of people in his family and village of origin, that he was raised in a poverty-stricken area of Jamaica, and that his father was violent and abusive towards him. He says that he suffered years of emotional and physical abuse, including severe head injuries that caused brain damage at the hands of his father, who was also frequently not home, leaving the defendant, the oldest of 18 siblings, to care and raise them all. Ultimately, the jury would conclude that the mitigating factors were not enough, and Granville Ritchie was sentenced to death. His punishment was deemed just, but it will still never be enough of a price to pay for the life that he took from Felicia Williams.
On December 9th, 2004, at 1:56 p.m., God blessed me with an 8-pound, 1-ounce healthy baby girl who I had the honor of naming Felicia Nicole Williams. But to others, she was known as Sugar Plum. I knew when she was first born that she would be my special child. And that's because she had that drive and will and was always determined to make things happen. I can remember back in June of 2013 when I had my foot surgery. She stayed in the house the whole entire summer, nursing me back to health. And not only did she do that, she also cooked for me, bathed me, and Sugar Plum also at the time of my surgery made sure my baby, who was 2 years old at the time, was well cared for. Even though Felicia was 9 years old, she was very smart, advanced, and very wise beyond her years. Like an elderly person would say, she was an old soul. Felicia loved riding her 3 bikes that she got for Christmas that following year. She liked going to the park and enjoying going to the pond and feeding the ducks. She was a cheerleader. She sang faithfully in the youth choir at the New Zion Holiness Church, where I am a faithful member. She was active with the International Free and Accepted Modern Masons.
She was on the church choir. And the mother is a Christian. Let God be the judge.
In Order of the Eastern Stars Blue Valley Youth Court, number 203, which has now been renamed in her honor as Blue Valley Felicia Williams Youth Court, number 203. In our church, they honor her by setting a seat aside with a black bow in remembrance of her for 30 days. I could remember the last conversation I had with Sugar Plum on May 16, 2014 at 4 p.m. And she never departed from her mommy without telling me that she loved me. Sugar Plum didn't only touch lives through death, she also touched lives through living. Sugar Plum had her first job at a local barbershop, sweeping the floor and taking the trash out. She never met a stranger. She came home at times after riding her bicycle bearing gifts from where she'd help a neighbor or elderly person take out their trash, feeding their dogs, or just sitting on their porch and keeping them company. But you truly will never understand what a unique individual you took from us. Not only was she a daughter, she was a granddaughter to 4 sets of grandparents, a goddaughter, a niece, whom one of her aunts gave the honor of being nicknamed Sugar Plum. And she was an awesome aunt herself to her 2 nieces at the time of her demise. She was a sister to her 6 siblings who miss her tremendously and her every day. Felicia's death has affected my life
and took its toll on my entire family. Even though it's been 5 years, it feels like 5 days ago. I have not yet returned to work.
I get further and further in. By the time
S-20.
That was the mother speaking. How long my daughter or my son have to leave to go get McDonald's or Burger King before me start worry and call them phone? Where my daughter there? Where my child? How long my daughter have been missing or my son for me start worry? Especially knowing a man come pick her up with her godmother. Why wouldn't you be calling them phone and asking where is Sugar Plum? Can you imagine how much times Sugar Plum call her mother name in the ordeal? You know, a child, the first thing she bawl out when she under attack is mommy. Mommy, 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 mommy. As a grown man, violate her, strangle her, rape her. You know where her last breath, where she use it and call? Mommy, mommy. How long a child has to be gone for you start call her name? For you start call her? For you start worry about her? All of you women who support pedophiles, and you call yourself mothers, you don't know what children cry out for when them under duress? Mommy. Them not even call out daddy because it's so hard for call, and some of the time we're not even dead. Some of the time we're the last person for them remember because we're not there. You can imagine a little girl that last breath. Who she a cry for?
-044, which was entered by the Chief Judge of this jurisdiction on August 31st of 2020. And specifically, paragraph 1B states as follows for in-person hearings. Judicial determination that the presiding judge can make a decision that the proceedings cannot proceed remotely if the court finds that to do so, to proceed remotely, would be inconsistent with the United States or the Florida Constitution. I make that determination right now, that due to the fact that this is a death penalty sentencing, that it would be inconsistent with both the United States and Florida Constitution that we proceed forward and that I sentence Mr. Ritchie remotely. Furthermore, I am empowered with the discretion, again, pursuant to S 2020-044, subsection 1B, with the discretion to have speaking individuals remove their face coverings or to use face shields or see-through masks. Instead, if A, an individual's facial expressions or features must be observed, or B, an individual's voice is inaudible or hampered and potentially could jeopardize the creation of an accurate record. So for that reason, if either the state or the defense is going to call any witnesses who wish to speak prior to the imposition of sentence, they will do so. That's a good reminder. Everyone turn off their phones, including me. Okay. That they will do so from the witness stand. And if any witness feels that it would impair their ability to communicate with the court or to express their sentiment or feeling, then they may take off their mask. I would note that the witness stand is a sufficient distance from me, and I do not have any concerns about any witness testifying from the witness stand. And that applies both to...
But you wish to make the court now?
Yes, I would. For the as well, but a lot of us not able to come because of the corona stuff or whatever, coronavirus. But anyway, it's where I'm sorry.
It's okay. Take your time.
I miss my baby. I miss her calling me, just saying that I love you, grandmama. She's always saying I love you, grandma. And it's hard knowing what she has shown me, what had actually been done to her. But she do come to me all the time showing me different things. But I'm not going to say as of right now. But it was wrong for what was done. And I just miss my grandbaby. It hurts. It hurts every day. You going to bed nice. You waking up nice. Making up during the day. You can't sleep just knowing what has been done to her. Why would they want to just do this to her? It wasn't right. It wasn't right. It just wasn't right. It just wasn't right. I miss my baby. I miss her.
I need some water. I sure can. Oh, okay.
Just look at that fucking face, man. Just look at him face, people. Just look at him face. Not even one fucking ounce of remorse, man. 9 fucking year old. Why am I not that was 9 fucking year old? And these fucking people attacking me, brethren, for that fucking talk of you. I'm fucking hurt, brethren. 9 fucking year old, brethren. And watch man fucking face, people. Watch man face there. And I'm being attacked for attacking for them youth. Fucking. What the fuck somebody that to a 9-year-old, brethren? I'm a fucking 7-year-old child. I'm a 7-year-old fucking daughter. And motherfucker. I'm gonna do that. Somebody do that to a child, brethren, and then people attack me for talk for a 13-year-old where man violate and come to Jamaica still and go around like a boys. And I'm the fucking, I'm a bully. What the fuck? What the fuck you do that to a 9-year-old child? Yo, star, them people are sick, brethren. Them people are sick, me. Yo, my head hurts, star. I do that to a 9-year-old child. And look at his face. Look at my face, people. Not even a fucking ounce of remorse, people. Not even an ounce of fucking remorse, brethren. I see the grandmother cry her eye out, and the man just like, yo, there's nothing, B. I'm never gonna fucking tell him about forgive. And no, and who has no sin cast the first one? You gonna tell me who has no sin cast the first one where a man take a 9-year-old, rape her, strangle her, put her in a suitcase, in woman or mother suitcase and throw her in a lake, and you gonna tell me say my sin of telling a fucking lie is equivalent to that? You gonna tell me say me can't judge him with no fucking remorse? Look at his face. Look at this. Look at that shit. Look at that. You fucking sick.
Morning. Please state your name.
Shakelia Givens.
Ms. Gibbons, do you have a statement you wish to make to the court?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Like, I stand with my grandmother when she says it's hard. Like, everything in life happens for a reason, but this is one reason we can't understand why. Like, it's hard. He took a sister, my baby sister. He took an aunt. My children miss her every day. My older girls, they miss her. And I said, we miss her so much.
Do you have a picture with you here today?
Yes, ma'am.
You want to show me the picture?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
It's a baby picture of her.
Precious, beautiful little girl.
Thank you. And today, like, we don't have that no more. My 1-year-old reminds me so much of her. I call her like she's a reincarnation of her. She literally is. My 1-year-old is a reincarnation of her. And it's hard. It's hard for one person to make a split life decision and we don't understand why. Because it didn't have to be that way. Like, he didn't have to take her from us. He should have just left her alone. Should have just left her alone. Like, you don't understand how hard, how rough life is without her. The sleepless nights, we can't sleep for days because we feel so we need her back. And the way he described her like she was nothing to us. Like, she didn't mean absolutely nothing, but she meant the world. She meant the world to us. And he discarded her like she was nothing. Sorry. I say to you, every dog has their day. And God is going to make, and your day has come. God got you now. Thank you.
Thank you. Dave, I need some.
Hi everybody, my name is Cha Cha, and I just really want to know to you, Granville Richie, why. That's just really what I really want to know, why. Like,
And Mr. Harmon, I had trouble hearing the witness's name.
You know why things like them a hurt me, Star? Because I see that little girl like my daughter be. You know, people like dirty and people and like Imhotep the man Sandy the man and people that start work against these type of behavior. It's just like we see them youth they're like, oh, people are saying that my business. How could it not be my business when it could have been my child? How could that not be your business? How could you stand up with a pedophile? I've never seen these Christian people like put up something and say, what if the guy that was molested in New York, what if him alright? I've never seen that, brethren. Like I literally search people's comment. I'm like, yo, to them I go see that. Like to them I go see something say me I pray for the victim. And it's like my son, brethren. Like as a father, brethren, how the fucking these people not even put up a message. Like people are like, yo, I'm so worried that this man gonna hurt himself. I've never seen anybody say, yo, what if the victim had planned to kill himself or commit suicide? So how is it not my business? Them thing come like it could happen to anyone that we start because we have children. And then behind that, we don't go all the way and we concoct a story. Put a 13-year-old, fabricated a 13-year-old story for shut me up. And even when we prove it, say, yo, nothing goes so, we don't still use it. And like, we have to shut him up. Like, yo, we don't care. Like, oh, a gully bop woman, oh, she fabricate that story when she have children. And she would even come forward, come say, yo, I planned that shit. Because I didn't want to shut you up to talk about the man. She and Ricky's their son. How you try to stop somebody where stand up for a child when this man rape and kill and throw in a lake? I would still behind the scene knowing say when you make up a story and point it out and show the people that you're not even have a Jamaican accent. You have a Trinidad accent or a Guyanese accent. But the people them still want to believe you because what? It's more important to believe a lie than the truth. You understand? Oh, it's not your business. It's not everybody's business. This, that. This is my business, Bridget. This could have been my child. This child could have been my child. Look at the people them. They would not see, but you know, no sick people, you know, no sick man. You just imagine when I stand up with something like this. Look at his face. And this all not defending him. This hurt me now. You would never understand how it would not affect me, but well, who do I know? Trust me, Bridget.
Chacha Adams.
Thank you. That's fine. If they're in the same family, then they can be close together. That's fine. That's fine. They can come up if they would like to. And they can come up together. That's fine.
Watch your stuff going up.
Morning.
Good morning. Can you say your name, please?
My name is Felicia Deverson. I am the mother of Felicia Williams. First of all, I just want to thank you for putting up with me, and Ms. Johnson and Mr. Harmon for putting up with me.
You don't need to apologize, Ms. Harrison.
And
I want to thank a few people that made this happen. Temple Terrace Police Department, Captain Michael Lowell, Investigation Division case. Detective Tom Carroll, he's retired now, but he's still in my heart. Lead investigator, Detective Dare Kelly, primary point of contact. Entire Temple Terrace.
I first am in awe of your bravery and your tireless advocacy for your daughter.
Thank you.
And the fact that you were able to sit through this trial with the horrific facts. You're a better, stronger woman than I am. I just want you to know that. It's true.
They don't know what I go through behind closed doors.
And what has been asked of you to bear in this life is more than really should be asked of any human being. I think most parents have a moment where the child runs away from them, they can't find the child, a call or text message goes unanswered for a period of time. I think most parents at some point have that sick feeling of dread. Has something happened to my child? I know.
Because anywhere she went, she would call her mother.
I know. For most parents, mercifully, the moment passes. But for a few unfortunate ones, it doesn't. Instead, it just becomes the first step in a never-ending nightmare that you can never awake from. And my heart breaks for you as a mother. Absolutely breaks for you as a mother.
I know. That's why I thank you.
But I know that you are a woman of deep faith. And I know that you know someday you and Felicia will have a joyous reunion. And the pain and suffering of this life will be put behind you. So I wish you all of the best.
I thank you so much. I had this made for all of us.
It's absolutely beautiful.
This blanket is anointed and it's consecrated. And when I get that feeling, I cover myself with this to give me some type of comfort besides going to her faith. And I just want to thank all of you for listening. And I thank all of you for, like I say, putting up with me. Because I felt like you put yourself in Mama Bear mode. You came to me. I felt like you took that judge off and put yourself in my shoes. And
I gave it to my God. The same the journey you got ahead of you gonna need.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Please state your name.
Jerome Rodriguez Williams. I'm not like everybody else, bro. I ain't got no ill will against you. That same Bible that you play with, bro, you get back to yourself, you get on your knees and you pray. Cause the journey you got ahead of you gonna need God. I forgive you. I ain't got no anger towards you, bro. Abraham was willing to sacrifice his child. I sacrificed mine. I was you. I once was you. In and out these same courtrooms. I was a monster. I'm pretty sure they done told you about me. I'm the one you don't want to see, bro. You took something from me you can't give back. I don't want no revenge. I gave it to my God. The same God that you play with, I gave it to him. And he took that pressure from me that I couldn't deal with myself. A lot of people would have suffered if I would have dealt with it. But the fact that it took 6 years, man, for you to be a man and admit to what you done wrong. All these people you hurt, man. Phone calls 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, man. And I gotta get up my bed and go console her. Go get her from the grave site 4 in the morning. And she there crying about my baby. That's the woman you gotta have forgiveness. Let me tell you one thing about her, bro. It's hard for her to forgive. I've been dealing with for the last 17 years. And I'm still asking her for forgiveness. But I forgive you, bro. That's how strong my God is. I come in and smile at you today with no harm or ill will towards you. You my brother. You made a mistake. But you got time. You got time to get right with God, bro. Like I said, I once was you. I was a monster. I was just like you. So if my God can change me to make me a better man, I do that. I celebrate the day. September 13, 2017. I've been out 3 years. They told me I'd never stay out 3 years and make it on these streets. Not only have I been out 3 years, started my own business. For to start another business. For to go to school to be a law clerk. So if it took me to sacrifice and lose my child, because the last thing my baby said to me when I talked to her, she said, Daddy, I'm going to pray for you. And I sat and I wondered, what kind of father am I if my child says she's going to pray for me? I should be praying for her. I should have been here to protect her, but I wasn't. That's what I deal with. And I'm pretty sure you know my baby called out for me. I wasn't there for my baby. But I'm going to make sure I'm there for my other ones. Like I say, bro, don't play with God, bro. Ask him for forgiveness. You did wrong. Your mistakes just worse than others. When you get by to yourself, you get on your knees and you pray harder than you ever prayed in your life. When you ask for his forgiveness. Because I give you mine. I ain't got no ill will towards you, bro. I love you. You're a child of God. But don't play with him. Because if you play with him, he's going to destroy you. You take that Bible that them people give you, and you pray. And you ask him to make you a better man. Don't look at this as your life being over. That 15 years mandatory. 12/24/2024, I'm still supposed to be in prison. He freed me, he released me. He brought me home. He can do the same for you. Like I said, I'm not like everybody else. I've been where you been at. I'm still supposed to be where you be at. But he set me free. That's what he'll do for you. He may not release you physically. Spiritually, he will. But you pray to God, bro. You tell him that you made a mistake and you ask for his forgiveness. That's how I am. I asked him. He forgave me. And I got to go to the people that I hurt and I got to ask them for their forgiveness. That made me a better man. See, people all day long about they Christians. How can you be a Christian if you're not able to forgive a person that did wrong to you? You my brother. I don't care what nobody else say. I love you. You made a mistake. I forgive you, bro. I ain't got no ill will towards you. But you go back and you ask God to make you a better man. Because I asked him. And he made me a better man. So I ask that you do the same. I ain't perfect. I make mistakes. But he changed me from what I used to be. Like I said, I once was you. I was a monster. But he took that away from me. He helping me to be a better father. He helping me be a better man. You got all these people, bro, that you got to ask for forgiveness from. Especially her. And she a hard woman for forgiveness. But before you leave this earth, bro, ask for her forgiveness. Ask her for that. The whole 6 years. Ain't none of your attorneys, ain't none of your people reached out and asked nobody for forgiveness. But I'm coming to you, I'm giving you my forgiveness, bro. I love you. But you need to ask that woman that for forgiveness. It may take some time. She's stubborn. But you gotta ask her. This right here, bro. I keep my baby right here. But do me that favor. That same vibe you got with you, bro. You sit down, you have a good conversation with God, man. And you talk to him. You ask him for his forgiveness. And I guarantee you'll feel the calm you will never felt in your day in your life. That's what I felt, and I still feel it. I'm at peace, bro. You need peace in your soul. So you ask him that tonight. You ask for his forgiveness, and I guarantee he'll give you a peace. Your earthly body is done away. But you gotta build up when you go see them. You know what I'm saying? You got a mama. Your mama ain't raised you like that, bro. Just like my mama ain't raised me the way I was raised. So be a man. That's all I ask you before you leave today, man. Be a man and stand on your own 2 feet, man. I ask her for forgiveness. That's all I've asked for you, bro. That's all I want from you, Mayu. We're brethren. You ask her for her forgiveness. And we good. I made my peace. My peace with you, my brother. But you ask this woman right here for her forgiveness. We good. God bless you.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Shit is just too emotional, people. And I apologize to the people anyway. Because, yo, but you hear what the father said. So this is a lesson, people. You hear the father say, he was not there to protect him child. The whole argument that is not our business. Even in the comment as we speaking now, you still see a woman in the comment that say, was not my business. You know, many children don't have a father today because them father either they're prison or dead, or just not look on them, or not give a shit about them. How is it not our business as fathers? All children are my children. If a man they are prison, that means say his children are my children. So if I see a child on the road and a child want food, I don't have a question to ask you. Why you want me give you food because you're not my child? Not even in my mind, I just think say a child hungry. It's my child. He was not there as a father. Enough of we not dead as fathers. They are prison. Because they are prison, a man can violate him youth. And because him feel, because him was in an institution for whatever him do in a life, he may have come tell the man, so listen to me, I come from which part you are go. Couldn't do it though.
No one else from the statement.
All right, and there was, and I've discussed it before, Ms. Demerson or someone on behalf of the victim's family, when the trial was concluded on September 27, 2019 at 3 p.m., handed a letter or a note to my bailiff. He immediately sealed it and brought it to me. I have not read it yet. And Ms. Demerson, I just want you to know, if this is from you or whoever it's from, you didn't do anything wrong. There's nothing wrong. It's just that this could be considered an ex parte communication. So I felt that it was safer just to seal up the letter, and I have not read it. And I will, however, after sentence is pronounced, I will then open it up and read it and make it a part of the record. So I just wanted you all to be aware of that. Okay. So, Mr. Brunvon, is there anyone that would like to speak on behalf of the defendant, Mr. Ritchie? Yes, absolutely.
Here comes the prayer time. Here comes the you has no sin cast the first stone time. Get your tissue.
No, thank you, Your Honor. We have nothing.
Okay, thank you. All right. So I have prepared a written sentencing.
That coward. What a fucking coward. Can't even do what the man who just come from prison begging for do. And you want me, and people that say we bully pedophile. Look at this shit. No, people, this is serious. The man say him forgive you. The man say you take something from him we're dear to him. And you could even get up and say sorry. I wanna tell me say, yo, forgive. You has no sin, judge not. The man come from prison. The man say, yo, I was weird. The man say, I was you. I beg you for just apologize to the mother and the child. For what you do to the child. For what you take away from her. Man say, you owe me that. Man say, me forgive you. You're my brother. I love you. And the man couldn't even do that, people. I wanna victimize predators. We can't come forward and say, you know what? I did something wrong, but I'm a changed person. Because they never, ever apologize. Them never beg forgiveness. You beg forgiveness for them. You forgive them. Them never beg forgiveness. What a coward. What a coward. He would even say make him do it for try. For make them not sentence him to death. What a coward.
And it will be filed with the clerk at the conclusion of this court's oral pronouncement of the defendant's sentence. I am going to read from portions of it. I'm not going to read the entire thing. It is very lengthy. So while I am reading from the order, Mr. Ritchie, you may remain seated. However, at the time that I am going to actually pronounce your sentence, I will then ask you and your counsel to step forward to stand in order to be sentenced, okay? All right. On August 28, 2014, the Hillsborough County Grand Jury indicted the defendant Granville Ritchie for murder in the first degree, count 1, sexual battery, victim less than 12 years of age, defendant over age of 18, count 2, and aggravated child abuse, count 3. On September 25, 2019, a jury found the defendant guilty of count 1 of murder in the first degree as charged. As to count 1, the jury specifically found that the killing was both premeditated murder and felony murder, based on the finding that the murder occurred during the course of a sexual battery on a victim less than 12 years of age, with the defendant being over the age of 18, or was committed during the course of aggravated child abuse. Defendant was also found guilty of sexual battery, victim less than 12 years of age, defendant over 18 years of age as charged, and aggravated child abuse as charged on counts 2 and 3, respectively. On September 26 and 20, In 2019, the court conducted the penalty phase of the trial, where the state and defense presented testimony and evidence. The court held a Spencer hearing on January 7, 2020. At that hearing, neither party presented additional witnesses or evidence. As ordered by the court at the January 7, 2020 hearing, the state and defendant filed memoranda either in support of or in opposition to the imposition of the death penalty in this case. In opposing the sentence, the court has taken into account the verdict of the jury, the evidence presented at both the guilt and penalty phase of the trial, the Spencer hearing, and the sentencing memoranda submitted by the state and the defense. The court now finds as follows. Aggravating factors. Section 921.141 Florida statutes provides that the burden is on the state during the sentencing portion of a capital felony trial to prove beyond a reasonable doubt the existence of aggravating factors to support the imposition of the death penalty. In this case, the state argues the existence of the following aggravating factors pursuant to Section 921.141 subsection 6. 1. The victim was less than 12 years of age. 2. The first-degree murder was committed while defendant was engaged in the commission of a sexual battery. And 3. The first-degree murder was especially heinous, atrocious, or cruel. As to the first aggravator, the victim of the capital felony was a person less than 12 years of age. The jury unanimously found that the state proved this aggravating factor beyond a reasonable doubt. The court agrees with the jury's finding that the state has proven this aggravator beyond a reasonable doubt and gives this aggravating factor great weight in determining the appropriate sentence to impose. The second aggravating factor. The capital felony was committed while the defendant was engaged in the commission of a sexual battery. In this case, the state presented testimony and evidence demonstrating that defendant sexually battered the child victim at the time of her murder, including the fact that her body was found unclothed and that she suffered blunt force trauma and lacerations on both the inside and outside of her genitalia at or around the time of her death. The jury unanimously found that the state proved this aggravating factor beyond a reasonable doubt. The court also finds that the state has established the existence of this aggravator beyond a reasonable doubt, that the defendant murdered the child victim during the commission of a sexual battery. The court therefore gives this aggravating factor great weight in determining the appropriate sentence to impose. 3. The capital felony was especially heinous, atrocious, or cruel. The Florida Supreme Court has provided that the heinous, atrocious, or cruel aggravator is applicable, quote, only in torturous murders, those that evince extreme and outrageous depravity, as exemplified either by the desire to inflict a high degree of pain or utter indifference to or enjoyment of the suffering of another, close quote. The heinous, atrocious, or cruel aggravator is reserved for murders that are, quote, conscienceless or pitiless and unnecessarily torturous to the victim, close quote. In this case, the jury unanimously found that the state proved the aggravating factor of heinous, atrocious, or cruel beyond a reasonable doubt. The court also finds that defendant murdered the victim in a heinous, atrocious, or cruel manner, and that the state established the existence of this aggravator beyond a reasonable doubt. Specifically, the court finds that the testimony of Dr. Upshaw Downs and Dr. Randall Alexander establishes that the child victim suffered numerous injuries to her head, neck, body, and genitalia during the course of the sexual battery and homicide. Their testimony also established that the extensive injuries to the child victim's genitals were indicative of forced sexual penetration. These injuries, when perpetrated against a 9-year-old girl, would be particularly painful, as her body was not physiologically prepared to engage in sexual intercourse. Additionally, the testimony from Dr. Upshaw Downs regarding the extensive injuries to the child victim's neck, signs of internal injury and bleeding in the neck and head, hemorrhaging of the blood vessels of her eyes, and deep injuries to her tongue caused by forceful biting, all indicate that the victim was alive, conscious, and struggling for her life during the rape and homicide. Moreover, the defendant manually strangled the victim in order to kill her. The expert testimony established that this process took several minutes at a minimum to complete, allowing the victim to be fully aware of her impending death. One of the state's experts testified that to the child, she would have felt as if she were drowning. Taken together, the facts in this case established that the child victim suffered a horrendous, physically painful, and psychologically torturous death at the hands of the defendant. The court therefore gives this aggravating factor great weight in determining the appropriate sentence to impose. Sufficiency of the aggravating factors. A jury must unanimously find that sufficient aggravating factors exist to warrant imposition of a sentence of death. In this case, the jury unanimously found that the above aggravating factors proved by the state were proved beyond a reasonable doubt and are sufficient to warrant the imposition of a death sentence. The court also finds that the above aggravators have been proven beyond a reasonable doubt and are sufficient to warrant a sentence of death. Therefore, the court must now consider defendant's proposed mitigating circumstances. Mitigating circumstances. The defendant alleges 4 statutory mitigating circumstances under Section 921.141, subsection 7, Florida statutes, and numerous non-statutory mitigating circumstances. Unlike the state's burden of proving the existence of aggravating circumstances beyond a reasonable doubt, a defendant need only establish the existence of mitigating circumstances by the greater weight of the evidence. The jury in this case found that one or more mitigating circumstances presented by defendant was established by the greater weight of the evidence. As such, the court will consider the proposed mitigating circumstances in light of the testimony and evidence presented at trial to determine whether the sentence of death is appropriate in this case. The defendant requested and the court instructed the jury on the following statutory mitigating circumstances. Number 1, the defendant has no significant history of prior criminal activity. Defendant asserts that he has no significant history of criminal activity preceding the instant case. The court finds that this mitigating circumstances was established by the greater weight of the evidence and should be afforded moderate weight. 2, the capital felony was committed while the defendant was under the influence of extreme mental or emotional disturbance. Defendant claims that he murdered the child victim while under extreme mental or emotional disturbance. After evaluation of the expert testimony presented by both the state and the defense, the court finds that the opinions of the experts conflict radically. The defendant bears the burden of establishing the existence of mitigating factors. It is also within the discretion of the court to reject a proposed statutory mitigator where defense experts' testimony is rebutted by the evidence adduced at trial or the testimony of another expert. In this case, the court finds the testimony of the state's witnesses, Dr. Holder and Dr. Lazaro, more credible and persuasive than that of the defense expert witnesses, Dr. Einstein and Dr. Wu, as explained in greater detail in this sentencing order. Therefore, the court finds that the defendant has failed to meet his burden in establishing the existence of this mitigating factor. The court finds that defendant has failed to present any competent evidence to suggest that at the time of the instant capital offense, he was laboring under the influence of extreme mental or emotional disturbance. To the contrary, the court finds that the evidence introduced clearly indicates that defendant's behavior at the time leading up to the murder and afterward was calculated, rational, and goal-directed toward executing the offense and evading detection afterward. Based on the competent, substantial evidence and testimony presented refuting any assertion that defendant was under the influence of an extreme mental or emotional disturbance at the time of the offense, the court finds defendant has failed to establish the existence of this factor. 3, the capacity of the defendant to appreciate the criminality of his conduct or to conform his conduct to the requirements of law was substantially impaired. A court may consider a medical expert's opinion as to whether the defendant could differentiate between right and wrong and whether he or she could understand the consequences of his or her actions. Pursuant to the facts established at the trial, the court finds the planning and actions executed by the defendant prior to, at the time of, and following the instant sexual battery and homicide are entirely inconsistent with an individual with an impaired capacity to appreciate the criminality of his conduct, or who was incapable of conforming his conduct to the requirements of law. Instead, the court finds that defendant's activities at the time are indicative of an individual who was well aware of his actions, their criminal nature, and that he proactively operated to avoid detection and the legal ramifications he would suffer if he were to be caught. Therefore, based on the competent, substantial evidence and testimony presented refuting any assertion that defendant's capacity to appreciate the criminality of his conduct or to conform his conduct to the requirements of the law was substantially impaired, the court finds that defendant has failed to establish the existence of this mitigating circumstance. The existence of any other factors in defendant's background that would mitigate against imposition of the death penalty. This is also referred to as the catch-all statutory mitigating circumstance. The defendant requested and the court instructed the jury on the following non-statutory mitigating circumstances. A, defendant suffered a significant head injury as a child, but received no medication and has continued to have migraines afterward. The court finds that the only evidence presented regarding head injury suffered by a defendant were the result of either defendant's own self-serving statements or from those of his family. No corroborating evidence was presented other than the testimony of Dr. Wu and Dr. Einstein, both of whom received this information from either defendant or his family. The court does not find this testimony, based on defendant's own self-serving statements, to be credible. Therefore, the court finds that this mitigating circumstance was not established by the greater weight of the evidence. Defendant suffered mental and physical abuse by his father, and defendant's father was often absent because of 4 different families. The court finds that the video evidence presented by defendant during the penalty phase of the trial provided uncontroverted evidence that defendant's father was physically and mentally abusive to the defendant and other members of the defendant's family during defendant's youth. The court finds the uncontroverted evidence was also presented establishing that defendant's father was often absent from the home due to having relationships and children with multiple different partners. The court finds that this mitigating circumstance was established by the greater weight of the evidence and should be afforded moderate weight. Defendant was raised in a poverty-stricken and violent neighborhood in Kingston, Jamaica. The court finds that the video evidence presented by defendant during the penalty phase of the trial provided evidence as to the conditions of defendant's childhood neighborhood. The individuals depicted in the video described the poverty associated with the area and recounted incidents of violence that occurred at the time of defendant's youth, of which he would have been aware. The court acknowledges that the state called Miss Georgette Redley to rebut defendant's depiction of the area in which he grew up. However, because Miss Redley lacked personal knowledge of the conditions defendant himself endured while growing up, the court finds that her testimony does not refute the evidence presented by defendant in regard to this mitigating circumstance. The court therefore finds that this mitigating circumstance has been established by the greater weight of the evidence, but that it should be given little weight. Defendant was the oldest of 18 siblings and helped to raise them. The video evidence defendant presented during the penalty phase of the trial demonstrated that defendant has a close relationship with his family members and that he helped to financially support his family. The court finds that this mitigating circumstance was established by the greater weight of the evidence, but should be given little weight. Defendant was gainfully employed at various jobs, such as a worker at Kingston Airport and then at Comtrans Communication, making cell phone towers. The video evidence defendant presented during the penalty phase of the trial demonstrated that defendant was gainfully employed while living in Jamaica. The court finds that this mitigating circumstance was established by the greater weight of the evidence, but should be afforded little weight. Defendant was kind and generous to others and possesses other positive redeeming qualities. The video evidence defendant presented during the penalty phase of the trial depicted individuals who spoke fondly of the defendant, stating that defendant was known to be generous to people he knew and to the community at large. The court finds that this mitigating circumstance was established by the greater.
You hear that? Generous to the community at large. A lot of you mix up the humanitarian work where some people come and do, and you not give nobody nothing. You not make no hospital bed. You not do this. You not do that. And because we not come forward and show say we are give people this and give people that, and when nobody not see we pano video, a drop off things and a drop off that. You can't talk. You go where you go. When you start do that, you can't talk. And this predator was a humanitarian. Here, because the court established it, that he was a person who always a give. He might give to the community at large. Yes, what I say? Philanthropist, yeah? Philanthropist. I give out things. Yeah, everybody I say, yeah man, I am the one to take care of it. Him rape a little 9-year-old and kill her and dump her body in our ocean. Yeah?
Weight of the evidence, but should be given little weight. Defendant has a low risk of recidivism. After evaluation of the expert testimony presented on this issue, the court finds that the opinion of the experts regarding defendant's possibility of recidivism conflict. In this case, the court finds the testimony of Dr. Lazaro more persuasive and credible than that of either Dr. Einstein and Mr. Land. Therefore, the court finds that defendant has failed to meet his burden in establishing the existence of this mitigating circumstance. In an abundance of caution, the court has reviewed each remaining statutory mitigating circumstance. No evidence was presented to support any other statutory mitigating circumstance. In the instant case, the jury unanimously found that each of the aggravating factors presented by the state were proven beyond a reasonable doubt, and that the aggravating factors outweighed the mitigating circumstances presented by defendant. The jury unanimously found that defendant should be sentenced to death. As such, the court has now conducted its own weighing process as required by law. Mr. Ritchie, I need you to stand and please approach the podium. Mr. Ritchie, the court has thoroughly reviewed and considered the record concerning defendant's trial, including both the guilty and penalty proceedings, as well as the memoranda submitted by both the state and the defense. The court has also evaluated and weighed the aggravating factors the jury has found to exist beyond a reasonable doubt, and the mitigating circumstances established by the evidence. The court acknowledges that this weighing is not a quantitative comparison, but instead requires a qualitative analysis of each aggravating factor and each mitigating circumstance. The court has assigned an appropriate weight to each and finds that the aggravating factors found to exist heavily outweigh the mitigating circumstances presented. The court finds that the jury's recommendation to impose a death sentence is consistent with its verdict and is based on the evidence presented regarding the aggravating and mitigating circumstances. The court agrees with the jury's unanimous recommendation based on its own assessment of the aggravating factors weighed against the mitigating circumstances. The court finds that the aggravating factors substantially outweigh the mitigating circumstances and sufficiently warrant a sentence of death in this case. Therefore, the court finds that the sentence of death is the appropriate penalty the court should impose for the murder of 9-year-old Felicia Williams, as charged in count 1 of the indictment. Accordingly, as to count 1, for the first-degree murder of Felicia Williams, the defendant, Granville Ritchie, is hereby sentenced to death. Defendant shall be delivered into the custody of the Florida Department of Corrections at the Florida State Prison, where he shall be confined until the date certain, selected by the governor of the state of Florida, and on that date, defendant shall be executed in a method provided for by the laws of the state of Florida. As to count 2, for the sexual battery of a victim less than 12 years of age by a defendant over the age of 18, committed against 9-year-old Felicia Williams, defendant shall be sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. As to count 3, for the aggravated child abuse of Felicia Williams, defendant shall be sentenced to 30 years imprisonment. Counts 1, 2, and 3 shall run consecutively to each other. However, the 2 cases you pled to earlier today will run concurrent with count 1. Defendant is hereby notified that this sentence is subject to automatic review by the Supreme Court of Florida. Counsel will be appointed by separate order to represent defendant for that purpose. Further, pursuant to Section 922.105 Florida statutes, defendant has 30 days from the issuance of a mandate from the Supreme Court of Florida affirming the sentence of death to elect death by electrocution by the procedures required by law. Mr. Ritchie, I do have one final thing to say to you. There will be no corporal redemption for you. And what I mean by that is of your physical being, your person. You will remain incarcerated until the date of your death is scheduled to occur. However, I do not know what your spiritual leanings are, and it really does not matter to me either way. I am very grateful that I live in a country where people can believe or disbelieve anything they choose, and that applies to you equally. However, if you do ever pray to a higher power, either now or at some point before the date of your death is scheduled to occur, and you truly seek forgiveness and redemption for the sins and the crimes you have committed, I hope that you are granted it. And I do still see the humanity in you. May God have mercy on your soul, Mr. Ritchie. We are now concluded, other than I am going to read the note that I received that was unsealed, or that was sealed. I'm now going to unseal it. And it is a card, and it says, I thank God as I remember you. 2 Timothy 1:3. And it's from the family of Felicia Williams, and it's a photograph of Felicia, aka Sugar Plum. And I wish to thank you all for this. God bless all of you. Thank you very much. We're now concluded.
For purposes of the charges that you pled to today, the understanding was it was concurrent as to everything?
They are.
Okay.
I'm sorry. They are concurrent as to each and every count.
Very good. And he has served more than 5 years on this.
Okay. Very good.
Very good.
Yeah.
And could be concurrent with his other case?
Correct.
Thank you.
And
You stinking coward. You shithouse. You stinking coward. Nasty. Dog shit. Not even an ounce of remorse. Not even. And we must forgive. And we must stop talking about pedophiles. And me must use my platform for to talk about music. So I'm not a human being. I don't have no feelings. I don't have children. People like 360, Ashanti, them not have children. And when a lady come forward and say, yo, this has bothered me for years, or for months, excuse me. And I'm a part of something that I don't feel right, and I just want to clear some ear. I just want to let them know what's going on in other camp here. When I chastise the woman, I want to kill the woman, and I call the woman all manner of names. After the woman come forward and make them know, say, yo, that little youth here, same get molested by the predator at 11 years old. The youth, me ask the youth if him want to go station, the youth say no, because it passed long time. 21 now. The predator come forward and admit say him a molest, him a some affair with a 21-year-old. So that means there's some form of truth in that with the 11-year-old and 21-year-old. Who don't go year 21. You know what's gonna happen? What's gonna happen is somebody are gonna get killed. Because when predators don't want to go back to prison or don't want to get catch, them kill to cover up them crime. You understand? Me still think about the youth in the tank. The youth are drowning in the tank. Yeah, that dip on my soul. That rest on my soul. Me still think say something sit right with me. And the predator came forward. He was around the youth. He came forward to beg money to bury the youth. Something something sit right in my soul. Now I say, nobody kill nobody. But something right in my soul with that. But me know say the predators them, me know say the pedophiles them, the sex offenders them kill them victims when them no want to get catch. This man here is a story we want to make this be. Something we want to watch again, watch in its entirety, and learn from it. Philanthropist, humanitarian, grown and give money to people, mother love him, girlfriend him stand up by him. All of them things them have. Bible, God, Jesus, him have that. Him take the life of a 9-year-old child. And look him sick. He had a big woman with him could have sex. Him actually sex the big woman after him done kill the child. After him done killing the child, excuse me, him sex the woman on the floor. Them drink and smoke and sex after him kill a child. He was no sin cast the first one. After the man killed the people and pitney, him and the big woman, when could have did sex and left the pitney. He could have sex the big woman and leave the people and pitney alone. Leave the people and child alone. But no, him kill the child. Him plan him move. Him plan him strategize everything. He's good philanthropist. The philanthropist, whatever. Plan out him whole thing. Right? Set up him thing. Yeah, man. First and foremost, this child was not acting up. Based on what the mother them saying how she was loving and helpful. This child was not acting up. This child was lured to this predator by the woman, it seems, when put under Mali. I wonder if you noticed that. None of the victims them, none of the family members them, for they are all victims. None of them not come forward and say this child was giving problems. This child was bad. This child was broken out. The child took on to the godmother. You see? And the man manipulated her to bring the child come game because she under the influence of Mali. And the man want to go out with freaky things. Enough of them women there you see at Jamaica we are run with this charity thing. I set up on a picnic to get rape. I set up on a child for go around predators we are do humanitarian work. Enough of them women there. Look on the video with the little youth when I go to school, when take out of school. Look if it's not a woman you see I carry the youth up and down. Look if it's not a woman you see Hmm? Go watch the video. Go and watch the video with that predator and the little youth them take out of school. It's a woman. You see have the youth up and down. Enough of them people are sick. Once you are a philanthropist, you can't get away with anything. You just want to give some people some money. Start handout. Yep. I tell we say, this child was acting out. So she carried the man, go pick up the child for go McDonald's. You know, this is that girl left in their prison too. She forget the death penalty too, you know. The girl will take the Molly, you know, we say she that take the Molly. Just watch back everything the people, man. Just watch it back in a one time. The girl, seeing the wicked girl, the child link her because she the child's godmother. So little youth take on to her, you know, auntie. Just go back and